jumping straight in, gang's back together. What's it like being back together for the festival?
I hate these people.
It's great. Sarah, Zach, and I got here 2 days ago, and we partied a little bit. And then these guys came in. Bill got in the morning yesterday, and we partied a little bit. And then last night, everybody else got in, and we partied a little bit more. So it's just like old times.
Pulled an all-nighter, and now...
And then went right to work.
It was so nostalgic last night to be sitting around with the gang telling old stories and talking about all the people we love and stuff. It was really emotional. I'm not an emotional guy usually. And the first thing Donald said to me this morning was, he said, "You almost cried last night," which is so grade school, by the way. I'm still mad about it. but I did. It made me really happy.
What was it that almost got you?
For me, it was seeing everybody again. I love all these people. I don't just want to work with them. I like being around them. And then walking down the streets of Austin as a group for dinner, and having people that were just going out to have a night do double takes and go, "You from Scrubs?"
We changed streets on the way home from dinner because there were so many drunk people that it was becoming hard to get home.
Well, I think it would be overwhelming to be drunk on the streets of Austin.
And the entire cast of Scrubs walked by.
Not just one of you. I mean, it's the entire cast.
Yeah, we were walking in one group.
We've hung out over the years, but this is the first time in years, obviously, since the beginning of the pandemic, that we've all done this. And Bill took us for this amazing dinner last night, and we were like, "Thanks for dinner, Bill, and thanks for a career."
Right,
by
pretty
the way,
much,
because
yeah.
this job changed
all of our lives.
And not just your lives. I mean, one of the things that we hear time and time again from medical professionals is this was the show that made them want to get into medicine.
Of all of the medical shows, this is what universally doctors and nurses say was the most accurate. I think that's such a testament to Bill, because he always said, "We're going to be very silly sometimes, but I always want the medicine to be completely accurate so it balances it out."
Bill, you're not a doctor.
Not yet.
I'm not a doctor, but I guarantee you everybody on the panel agrees the one thing from this TV show more than any gig I've ever had is you and your entire extended family use it whenever you're in a medical situation at a hospital. Whenever you're in a hospital or getting a surgery, just to be like,
I know.
"You guys are Scrubs. Make sure I don't die."
Do you guys get a lot of calls from friends saying, "Hey, I know you're not a real doctor, but I've got this condition"?
No, but we all call, this is inspired by Bill's college buddy, a doctor, cardiologist now named John Doris. And I don't know about you guys, but we almost all call him as a second we have a medical problem. Because I text him, I'm like, "Does this look bad?" You know.
Definitely a mistake to give me his number. I'm kind of a hypochondriac a little bit.
Kinda.
He's the real JD, so we call him Real. So we're always like, "Real, we have a problem."
And he was your college roommate?
My college roommate. He ended up having Dr. Kelce's job. He's on the news for giving the first vaccine in LA. He ran the vaccine program for all kinds. A huge cardiologist and surgeon out there. He doesn't go by JD anymore because he said it's too exhausting to keep explaining to med students. So he goes by John now. He's like, "I can't, when I'm trying to tell somebody to not kill someone, it's too hard for me when they go, was it all based on you? It was Elliot."
So when you went to school together and you guys were roommates, you probably saw him partying. I mean,
Dude, he was a disaster.
Really?
Yeah, this show exists on some level because I said my nightmare, knowing who he was in his early 20s, would be to wake up in an emergency room and see that idiot over me. "You're going to be fine, man." And I'd be like, "I don't feel good about this at all."
And that's what we saw in the show.
He's a great guy, though. Great. And this is good Scrubs trivia. You guys, see if you guys can get it. Elliot is based on JD's wife. Do you know JD's wife's name? Because I'm bad at naming characters, I named another character after her on our show.
Dolly.
Molly
Clark. Heather Graham played
Heather
Molly
Graham,
Clark,
right.
who's Dolly Clark. Dolly is JD's wife, who is actually Elliot.
Is it hard to keep track of all the people you have had on the show?
Yeah, it's a testament to aging. It's really hard. And I just started watching the episodes now. My child is watching the show. So they're always asking me questions. "When you did this, did that happen?" I was like,
Did all your kids watch?
No.
My youngest, Henry, he's 15. He finally, because he resisted, and then he finally watched it during the, when we were all kind of locked up. And so underwhelming, by the way. I know he enjoyed it, but he's a cool 15-year-old. And I walked in when he was finishing the 8th season, and I go, "What'd you think?" He goes, "Hey, pretty good. You want to go get pizza or something?"
One of our other writers, Matt Tarsis, was excited that his kids finally wanted to watch. And, the show is pretty darn risque still. And he walked in and was watching some intense I don't know, sex scene or something between characters, and Matt was like, "All right, enjoy. I'm gonna go in the other room."
It's always impressive how people are, it's literally a show about death, but all those sex scenes make people uncomfortable. When we get to that place where we're talking about, they're not as worried, and that's a testament also to Bill, to like surround what it really is about with humor, all those things that are inevitable in life, and try to have some fun and some sex.
Well, I can't imagine what that was like when you first started, because it was a comedy and yet death is such a big role. How did you get that on TV? Death and comedy.
I think, well, look, it's a testament to the actors and actresses here that worked, because it's very hard to do really silly stuff and then have things with emotional stakes and have it switch on a dime. But I think we all operated under the belief that the show was going to go away, because that's how TV worked. Neil Flynn and I, we were talking last night, even though it's now lore, we had a conversation that I always thought for a second he was going to be a figment of Zach's imagination.
You people, you think of me as nothing but the janitor.
So he never talked to any other characters at first, really, just because I thought the show was going to be on and off, so quick. So for us, just getting to do it for so long is such a gift. And for me personally, getting to hear all these folks say such nice things about the experience, especially how I think we've all tried to kind of recapture it since then, was kind of really special.
That's the crazy thing, is that you go to other sets and you're like, we're like family, guys. We're like, you try to force it. We're like family. We're a family. And it doesn't feel like
there.
It doesn't feel like this ever.
Right.
It never feels like this. It gets close, but never like this.
No eagles on other sets.
Listen, man. I found my life partner while making this show, man. It's like.
By the way, this should be on the
Yeah,
Today
Zach,
Show.
Zach.
Your
He doesn't
wife's
mean
going to
his wife,
watch
he means
this.
me.
Oh, my wife is watching? I found my life partner, Casey Cobb, while making Scrubs. And we have 2 beautiful children together.
I didn't hear that.
What's the thing that you guys must get people asking you to eagle all the time? Eagle! Judy, Sarah, Johnny C, do you get people?
Girl's name. People want me to call him a girl's name. And there's a couple of go-tos, and then I keep walking.
Yeah, okay.
All right, Susan.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Susan.
He cross-gendered me.
Donald and I are doing this rewatch podcast where we.
It's called Fake Doctors, Real Friends for all of you out
Yeah,
there.
thank you for the plug. It's a very surreal experience because we don't remember a lot of it, but it is our exact sense of humor, obviously, because we find the show very funny.
Oh, Turk, that's a stupid sitcom. I mean, that's a sitcom.
And we were cracking up at stuff you don't remember, but it's you, and it's just such a bizarre experience.
Yeah, it's
And-
like I was there, but I just don't remember.
And so we're watching it anew and enjoying it and laughing through 6 seasons thus far. And then you're like, I have no memory of doing that, but that was very, very funny.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was naked as much as I was.
You were naked a lot. You looked great.
We had a rule on that show. This is why the character of the Todd kind of exists. We really wanted it to be about comedy, but sex and love and death all intermixed. And we said, we're going to be risque sexually. And Judy and Sarah were both scantily clad a number of times, but there's a very strong female presence in the writer's room. They said it has to be equal opportunity as far. And so the only way we could make up the gap was occasionally putting Rob Maschio in a thong.
Oh, that's right, the banana
The
hammock.
banana hammock, yeah.
And so the girls would all be like, yeah, Sarah or Judy, one of them had to wear a nightie and be kissing on some guy, so we're going to definitely put Rob in a thong.
And we saw your we almost saw your nipples.
I
They
was
were
naked
always
a lot, and I remember once I had to dance naked in front of Tara Reid.
Yeah.
And I'm going to Today Show-ify this. The minimal covering that was covering my area came off during the dance. And so Tara Reid saw everything I have.
You open the door for so many people. I love working with people. I did not do any of this by myself.
Hello! Lizzo, you put a smile on every single face.
It feel like Christmas or my birthday or something.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
I gotta ask about the dream sequences. They were extravagant. I mean, what was the most expensive dream sequence you ever came up with?
The most expensive joke.
Here comes a big one.
Was I wanted Zach to be riding a scooter, and I wanted him to go in a puddle and go underwater completely, and then come up.
Where was I?
And Randall, the line producer we all love dearly, who also played Leonard, the security guard. I still work with him. He's by the way, Randall and I are Turk and JD. We just kind of flipped a little bit. He came into the writer's room and he goes, "This joke's gonna cost $75,000. He's like, "You sure you want to do it?" And at that point, I was, I was not as responsible as I think I would be now. And I'm like, "Yeah, it's gonna be really funny." He's like, "It's a $75,000 joke. You sure?" He's like, "We're gonna have to have a stuntman drive in with the weights attached to his pockets, so he stays underwater."
And destroy a scooter, and then because the holes were needed to be deep enough, they had the city made them. What do you call it when you put wood to secure?
Yeah. It was like we were digging a pool in the parking lot.
They had to come in and make it safe because it could all the asphalt could have collapsed on us both.
You saw a manatee down there, right?
Yes, his name was Julian. Yes.
Did he say anything?
That's Julian.
He didn't, and we didn't exchange pleasantries. And then Neil says, "That's Julian."
That was all improv.
To tip our hat to Neil Flynn, that was not in the script. He was just being Neil Flynn.
I think I saw a manatee.
Was his name Julian?
We didn't exchange pleasantries.
That's Julian.
How much ad-libbing did you guys do?
I would say Neil did most of the ad-libbing. We got, we did it the way Bill wanted us to do it, and then he would say play around a little bit. But Neil would just go, it wouldn't be lines for him. It would just be Neil says something funny, and then he would go off and really crush.
1, 2.
Oh!
Yeah?
No!
You owe me $500.
Everybody here, when the show's working, you can tell that the ownership of characters shifts from the writers to the actors and actresses, and everyone here would do stuff that was not on the page that we would use and take credit for. They're also talented. The one that did it a little less because it was Johnny C, because I was not, always super prepared as a writer, and I would hand John these giant page-long monologues, and I'd be like, "You got to do this word for word in about 45 minutes. If there's anything I can help you with, you go ahead and let me know."
Is that where the Dr. Cox anger came from?
Interns, flee now! Now there is just no way you could have known that off the top of that straw-covered scarecrow head of yours.
No, the two things that happened was I was so competitive with Billy that I decided if I was going to memorize this, I was not going to give you a cut point. You're going to damn sure stay on me the whole time. And so I would take a huge breath and then talk in kind of a Martin Scorsese syncopation, and I never gave him a cut point. Foolish me, Billy cut away whenever he wanted to. And I was so panicked with being handed on Monday morning a rewrite, which was really much better than when I spent the whole weekend memorizing. I had my room soundproofed. Because Zach and Donald were responsible for so much mayhem going on in the hallway that I couldn't concentrate. And then for the first year, dogs were allowed in the hospital until one bit another one. And then
do you remember what you said about the dog? Just so you know, we all lived in a deserted hospital, and we let everybody bring their dogs, and their kids were around, people, and it was family atmosphere. And John came to me once, and he was not joking, and he had dogs, and he said, "I will sacrifice one of my dogs as an offering."
Couldn't concentrate.
If we could simply make it so there's no dogs here in the building.
And of course, as karma dictates, because I couldn't stand them the most, because I was in such a panic trying to get the words in my skull, they all peed and pooped right outside my door.
all you would ever hear was Johnny go, "Get out!" And you see some poor dog wandering out of his room.
I couldn't memorize with all this stuff going on. That's why when I listened to Zachy and Donald's podcast, Fake Doctors, Real Friends, which is genius, it's all news to me because I was in my soundproof dressing room trying to remember Billy's words.
So we really did shoot in an abandoned hospital. We didn't have trailers. Each of our trailers were abandoned hospital rooms, patient rooms. And one of the things that made this family so special was we weren't on some giant backlot. We weren't on sets. I mean, obviously some of the sets, like the apartment, et cetera, the bar, they were built into the hospital. But we had our own studio. Everything was in this abandoned hospital. And so it really did bond us with the crew, obviously as a cast. The writers were all there. The editorial was all there. And it was just such a unique experience. I don't know could ever happen again because it was like we were on a ship together.
The writers was a big piece of that. Like, and every show since then, like that was my first big job, and I kind of thought, oh, that's how it works. And then on every other job, you don't often meet all the writers because you're not on the same campus altogether. Mm-hmm. And we would all eat lunch together at the lunch tent, and the writers would all come too, and we'd hang out with them, or we'd go down to the writers' room and hang out. And that's it's not an experience that I've ever seen.
Yeah, you try to recreate it, but every set I go to, you know, it's great to be around actors and everything like that, but it's really about the crew, you know what I mean? And so you really try to, what we had on our set was the crew was just, like Zach said, was a part of the family, just like the actors were. We did everything with them after work. We would go to bars, we would go, like, we had a lot of nights where we all were together. And I try to do that when I go to other sets. And people aren't really up for that, you know what I mean? Especially now with all, you know, with the pandemic and stuff like that. But I don't think I'll ever experience what we had on this show again, as far as
end line, no matter what anybody else says. End line of the piece, no matter what anybody else says.
I was trying to get it.
Everybody here's going for it, by the way.
I was trying to get it. I want to do it.
Wait. Your turn. I'm not going to do anything new. I'm just going to see who they pick. Watch this. I don't think any of us are ever going to have that type of experience ever again.
I've heard some of you say that this was the best time of your lives.
Yeah.
Does that still
I had
stand?
nothing to compare it to. So when we were there, I thought this is amazing. This is how it works. This is how it works on shows. So when you go to another show, and you know, it's more of an individual effort to know the entire crew's name, try to get friendly with the writers and stuff. You know, but it is something because of this experience and how it was set up that we bring. Or that I bring to another job, you know, and it's impossible to repeat, but it's a wealth of experience and a journey that you can't compare to anything else, but that you can try.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Yamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No.
Top Story with Tom Yamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
What do you love about fatherhood?
The chaos, the learning. Is climate change one of your top priorities?
What's your message to girls who want to make a difference in their own communities?
Believe in yourself.
Your chemistry is legendary. How did you get things done? I mean, how did you get through takes?
We laughed so much.
We laughed so hard.
Who was the worst? Who was the worst at keeping a straight face?
Watch this.
We discovered
to the point where there was a noise.
we discovered that there was a specific noise we could make, that noise, and Sarah would always start laughing.
Oh,
and so we would mess with her when it was like midnight and the crew was like, we need to go home.
We all have families.
But we would do it so quietly that the crew wouldn't notice that we were doing it. And
I was largely my
And
own.
a snort. And a
I was
snort.
largely my own worst enemy.
And when they do that, it was like, why is she still laughing?
I would largely beat myself up because I never liked the camera to cut, and I would just shy of flailing, putting a right into my eye. If I made a mistake with some of Billy's words, I would have a temper tantrum aimed at me, and then continue.
You'd occasionally hit a wall or a paper towel dispenser.
That's the thing. I feel like Johnny knew where the, there's going to be plywood here, and then this is just going to be an empty wall. Boom!
You don't want to hit the stud.
Right, you don't want to hit the stud.
Yeah, Johnny knew where to not hit the stud.
Where not to hit.
I was just thinking last night how it was the best job in the world because you knew you were going to belly laugh several times a day. And that was just obviously the scripts, but also just we loved each other so much and we cracked each other up. And there was so much downtime that we just laugh all day long. And I haven't had any experience like that ever. I
don't even eat lunch with the crew and everything anymore. I just go right to my trailer.
Well, I think COVID, obviously made you changed all that.
FaceTime all of us.
Yeah.
And
You're on other sets and you're FaceTiming them.
Oh, I FaceTime him all the time. I once FaceTime. We had something that we had to do, and I FaceTimed him, and he was pissed because I couldn't make it. I was stuck at work. He's like, put the AD on the phone. I was like, get out of here. Don't put the AD on the phone.
I was like, I want to talk to the first assistant director.
Like, no.
Well, and speaking of phones, you had a phone number that you put on the show, and did that
Cal
phone?
Turk.
Yeah, call Turk.
That was insane. I can't believe they let us do that. No one in America can have that number again because they didn't realize what was going to happen. He called up and I'm like, is there an open phone number? Like, what are you going to do? I'm like, because you can't say a real phone number on TV. We've all lived a world of, them saying 555,
Right.
and I want to get a real one. I'm going to put, this is our promotion idea, I'm going to put Turk's phone number on television. We had a map of everywhere in the world that people would call from. And my weirdest experience, because I got so excited that people from everywhere were watching the show, is I took the phone home one night, and these guys all know, I'm going to curse here so we can bleep it out, but these guys all know my wife and who she is as a human being. And I was getting home from work around midnight. I walked up into the bedroom, and I was talking, I answered it, and it was a super fan. And she was like, oh my God, and tell me about this, and tell me about that. And I'm like, well, the cool thing about the show, and Krista goes, hang that phone up. And there's a pause, and then this person on the line goes, oh my God, is that Jordan?
So this was a phone that everyone would answer it from time to time?
It was in the production office, and sometimes you turn it off because it rang literally nonstop. And sometimes it was just, everyone was trying to work, so they would turn it off. The second you turned it on, it would just ring nonstop. And so it would just get passed around. Like you'd randomly pick it up and go, hi, and someone would be calling from like Australia. And then and you'd hand it off to Donald, or you'd hand it off to anyone walking by. But if it was on, it was ringing.
Speaking of phones, I mean, have you guys received Scrubs gifts? Because they're everywhere. I mean, I use your gifts all the time.
I haven't received any, but I've seen one my favorite one is when we're rubbing our faces against each other.
I see it all the time.
That's my favorite one.
I get Elliot digging her own grave. That one gets sent to me.
I get Carla.
Carla looking sassy.
There's one that has a subtitle that screams internally. When I'm screaming,
I've seen yours because your biggest one out there is man not caring.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
You open the door for so many people. I love working with people. I did not do any of this by myself.
Hello! Lizzo, you put a smile on every single face.
It feel like Christmas or my birthday or something.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
You open the door for so many people. I love working with people. I did not do any of this by myself.
Hello! Lizzo, you put a smile on every single face.
It feels like Christmas or my birthday or something.
This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to spend some time with you. Appreciate
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
It seems as though a younger generation is now discovering Scrubs and going through it all over again.
That's great.
You have young people, you don't understand, your show got me through nursing school. And then you realize, oh my God, that was 20 years ago. It's happened so fast, and it's also like what you were saying, watching a show that's hilarious, you're kind of outside of yourself. So it's kind of, I'm a fan. I'm a fan, so an episode will come up, and I'm like, it's kind of like scrolling through your phone. You just watch it, and through TikTok, this thing that I don't have, and I've never. My kid has become hip to the show, and they love it. It's amazing.
I still feel like 2001 was 2 weeks ago, to be honest with you. It really does feel that way.
Hey, look, it's a good segue to everybody here was talking last night about how grateful we are. So it's just not patting ourselves on the back, it's how grateful we are that people still watch, still care, still are invested. It's such a gift. And Scrubs trivia for when these guys get to their my podcast. My podcast is doing very well, by the way. It's called Fake Doctors, Real Friends. Thanks, guys. I put it together. I hired Donald and Zach needed some work. But here's some trivia. Is in the finale of the show, the real finale, which is season 8, Zach walks down the hall, and the speech he gives, we really spent a weekend trying to write a speech that is both about being a doctor and about being an actor, actress, or TV writer. And his speech is really about what it means to do what we all do, because he says if you can even just make someone feel better for a second, that's all you can really ask for. And so for us, all of the people that take the time to come to us individually or online and tell us this meant something to them, this is a great opportunity to say thanks, because I know we're all really grateful.
One of the coolest parts was over the pandemic, all of the doctors and nurses that we heard from.
Yes.
That was super special.
And that was also great to do doing the podcast. It was nice to have people call in, and actually not just that, but also it was like it's a love letter to all of the people who were on the front line for COVID and stuff like that. That was nice to give back to them and tell them how much we appreciated them while we were going through, which is not over apparently, this pandemic for the last year.
I have an
2 years and a
idea
half.
for an ending. The poison dance?
No, that's not happening.
It would make me so happy.
Yeah, I know, it would make everybody so happy, but that ain't happening.
As I recall, you showed up to work, you were late, and you didn't know what we were shooting that day.
Right, no.
And he walks in the room, and they go, you haven't read it? And he goes, no. I go, oh, you're dancing to Poison.
And I was like, oh, okay. And the whole room is packed with cast, crew, writers, everybody. Like, I was like, is this an event? And
who are we going to watch?
What's going on? And they're like, you're dancing. And I was like, oh. And they played the song. And I mean, come on, man. I grew up on New Edition, and I grew up on Belle Biv DeVoe, so that was really easy. And then Fortnite took it. I am forever a legend, and I'm very honored. Listen, I am forever a legend to my children who play that game, because they're like, Dad, I'm doing your dance! And so,
You suddenly become relevant to your kid.
yeah,
Right?
at one point I did complain about it, and I had every 12-year-old boy twittering or TikToking how much of a loser I am. And then my son looked at me and he said, Dad, this makes you an even bigger legend. And I was like, yeah, I'll accept that.
We were at a pool yesterday, and they started cranking TLC's I Don't Want No Scrubs. And Donald's like, don't start dancing. do not start dancing. Don't embarrass us at this pool by start dancing to TLC Scrubs.
No, I won't tell the story, but
Well,
you
there
know
have
why.
been a couple times when we've been overserved and we couldn't help ourselves.
Yep.
But dance too, I don't want no scrubs.
That's right, in the middle of a club. I don't want no scrubs.
He's almost going to do it.
That almost happened.
Almost happened.
Thank you guys.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you for having us. Well, hello to you all. It's great to be back for another brand new Popstar Plus. Coming up on today's show, the cast of a very hot show from creator Mindy Kaling, it's called Never Have I Ever, is back for season 3. We'll tell you what we know about that. Then, if you're missing Sterling K. Brown on This Is Us, you're in luck, because he's out with a new film, and he stopped by Studio 1A to tell us all about it. And then later, a throwback with Robert De Niro on how he tackled one of his greatest roles in Raging Bull. But first, here are today's Popstar headlines. With The Wizard of Oz, get ready to head back down the Yellow Brick Road. Blackish creator Kenya Barris is working on a reimagined version of the classic film. Barris is set to write and direct the upcoming project for Warner Brothers. Besides that, the movie is going to be based on L. Frank Baum's iconic book, all other details being quite tightly kept under wraps. And it's Dorothy who's going to have to get in line. The movie comes in addition to another remake of Wizard of Oz that was announced recently last year by New Line Cinema. So a lot of interest in that. Next up, Adele, the British singer, covers the latest edition of Elle magazine. Inside that magazine, Adele speaking up about the events that she calls, quote, the worst moment in her career. You might recall back in January, she announced that she was going to be postponing that Vegas residency due to COVID-related production delays. She did that just one day before she was set to take the stage. Now, the Grammy winner is opening up about why she made that tough decision, telling Elle the stage setup just wasn't right. It was very disconnected from me and my band, and it lacked intimacy. Adele goes on to say, I don't think many people would have done what I did. I'm very proud of myself for standing by my artistic needs. And on a lighter note, she's also addressing those buzzy engagement rumors that have been swirling around the internet recently, saying that she's not engaged to boyfriend Rich Paul, but she could see herself getting married again. That September issue of Elle hits newsstands on August 30th. Of course, you can check out more information at today.com. And next up, we teased it earlier, our friend Joanna Gaines. We have a special Popstar exclusive announcement this morning that she's got a new book on the way. It's her first solo memoir. It's called The Stories We Tell. The best-selling author promises in the new project it's going to be an authentic and deeply vulnerable journey into her story, and she hopes readers join her by thinking about chapters in their own lives with this book. So mark your calendars. The Stories We Tell will hit shelves on November 8th, but if you can't wait that long, it is available to pre-order starting today. So congratulations to Joanna. And finally, another Popstar exclusive sneak peek, this one for Simone Biles, her latest project. We've got the Olympic gold medalist heading to Snapchat for a new series called Daring Simone Biles. The Snap original is going to feature her as she tries new adventures, things like beekeeping and DJing and hosting a talk show with fellow Olympian Tara Lipinski. Here's a first look at the trailer.
I'm Simone Biles.
Go.
I spent my whole life challenging myself and shattering limits. Okay, nice. But now, we know you can smell that. I'm gonna push myself way out of my comfort zone.
Take it.
Oh my God. I'm getting off the mat and taking on new challenges. You should host your own talk show. I don't know if I can do it.
Let's see what you got.
Things I've always wanted to do. Been scared to do. And never got the opportunity to do.
What year is this?
The most amazing journeys in life start when you dare to experience something new.
You ready for me to drop the
The show sort of begs the question, like, what can't Simone Biles do?
exactly.
She's probably just oddly amazing at all of these bizarre things. You can catch the 10-part series starting this Saturday. New episodes will air every other day through September 7th. Again, that is on Snapchat. Guys. All right. And of course, there's more to know. This is Popstar Plus, after all. Lizzo dropped a new music video yesterday. It's for her single To Be Loved, Am I Ready, off her latest studio album, Special. In the video, the Grammy winner is a runaway bride on a mission. Take a look.
And of course, some Lizzo fans might recognize that bridal veil from her 2017 music video for Truth Hurts, which she also brought right here to today, the first time that she performed on our plaza. So the veil getting some good use in the world of Lizzo. Well, that was a great concert, by the way. We need to get Lizzo back. And then finally, Kate McKinnon, during the comedian's legendary run on SNL, not only did she always have audiences cracking up, but often Kate and the cast found themselves in stitches on screen. Maybe most famously when she starred as one of our favorites, that's alien abductee Colleen Rafferty.
Interesting, and how would you describe their demeanor?
Shoppers storming a Walmart on Black Friday. They were all dropping in, scrambling.
I wonder if this was some sort of anatomical study?
No, I don't think any of these guys are working on their master's thesis.
In a new interview for Vulture's Good One podcast, McKinnon is opening up about how it felt in those rare moments when she simply couldn't keep it together on screen.
I felt ashamed because we're not supposed to, and there's something unprofessional about it. And yet, sometimes it was just too fun. There was a hint, I guess, of wanting the audience to know, like, oh man, I love this. I really love what I'm saying right now, you know? And I wanted them to know that I, as a person, was so tickled by what was going down. So sometimes I would allow myself to just go there.
Well, who can blame her? And those are some of the funniest moments when they crack themselves up. Kate very much can be missed when the return of SNL hits the fall, season 48 of SNL. Incredible. All right, coming up on Popstar Plus, guys, the cast of Never Have I Ever given us a sneak peek into the hit show's new season. Stay with us.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
And what do you love about fatherhood?
The chaos, the learning. Is climate change one of your top priorities?
What's your message to girls who want to make a difference in their own communities?
Believe in yourself.
Welcome back to Today. We got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Popstar Plus. Never Have I Ever is the hit coming-of-age dramedy created by none other than Mindy Kaling. And head of the show's third season, our very own Donna Farazan got a chance to catch up with the cast to talk about their characters and how they navigate high school and relationships.
Maitreyi, if you could name a Never Have I Ever chapter for this current stage in your life, personally, right now, what would it be?
Been a star?
Oh my God. I will take Darren's. Yeah, I'll take Darren's answer. I guess never have I ever, been a star of a TV show.
Been a freaking star.
Okay.
Come on.
We have edited the sentence. Freaking.
But we end season 2 with Davy and Paxton together. But I mean, let's be real. We all know that Ben is going to pine after Davy too. Why do you think audiences love seeing this love triangle?
I think it's just, honestly, it's such opposite ends of a spectrum in terms of like her interests, that you have on one end someone who is exactly like her in so many ways and challenges her in so many ways and drives her absolutely mad. And then the other completely like seemingly unattainable dreamboat that she thinks she'll never be with. So they both seem somewhat unlikely to actually work out. And I think that conflict in general just keeps it interesting and keeps you on your toes at all times.
Yeah, Mindy says it best, and I totally agree with her, that in TV especially, secure relationships are boring as hell. Like, if they're just secure and happy all the time, it's no fun. So I know Mindy's a big fan of keeping things messy and moving all throughout like romantic lives of TV characters. So I think that's what really keeps the audience into it, because there's just so many moving parts always. It's never always, you know, peachy keen.
Hey, Paxton. Just thought you should know that we're dating the same person.
I don't think so, man.
I can explain. But the explanation might sound a lot like what Ben said.
All of your characters have a lot of depth to them. Lee, we got to see Fabiola's journey with her sexuality blossom. Megan, last season we saw Anissa battle an eating disorder. Ramona, we saw Eleanor's complicated relationship with her mother. These are all things that we can all relate to as women, especially as women who are coming of age. What do you hope young viewers take away from your characters?
I'm just so grateful that there's a show like this out right now. Like, I was just having this conversation with my mom the other day, and I was like, man, this would have been so beneficial for me if I had a show like this growing up. Just to turn to someone that, one, looks like me, but then two, is dealing with similar problems and being okay with the messiness, which is why I think Baby is so like loved, is because she isn't this perfect girl. She's, you know, all over the place, and that's okay.
Noor, I understand why you're so angry. I mean, Devi was way out of line.
So out of line. Like, the line was here, and I was friggin' way over there.
I agree. I think the characters handle very serious obstacles in their lives, but they do it with a sense of humor and relatability. And I love that young audiences get to enjoy that.
First of all, it's an honor to play these characters because you know, it's so rare to have an opportunity to see characters like this and to play characters like this, especially South Asian, and specifically talking about women of color who work in STEM, or South Asian women who work in STEM. I know personally I've gotten messages and comments from other young women who are doing similar things, just saying, I feel so represented and I feel so seen, or this has given me inspiration to follow this career path. So I think that's all we can really hope for, is that it helps people to feel seen and inspires people to know that they can do something similar.
How would you say you are most similar to your characters?
I feel like I'm similar to Fabiola in the sense that she really cares about her friends. She's there for her friends, and that she's gay. And that, but I also relate to like other characters too, like Davy, how she's like, you know, she's not a perfect person like in high school, which nobody is. In high school, I was a mess. I also relate to Eleanor because like the theater, I was a theater kid. So yeah, I feel like I could relate to everybody, which I think is a good thing. Like audience members can relate to like each character in different ways.
And, you know, I mean, I think it's really amazing too, because there's so much representation behind the scenes also, of course, working with Mindy. What has it been like working with Mindy?
First, when I went into it, I thought it'd be one thing, and now we've come out of it, and it's been a transformational journey. And you're so right. Like in front of the camera, there is so much representation, but it is reflected on both sides. The set feels so empowering. There's no hierarchy. There's such a sense of collaboration that Mindy and Lang have created.
What are you looking forward to people seeing most in season 3?
I felt like in previous seasons, we've gotten to know the characters more. And I feel like this season is the first time where we really see the characters interact on a very deep relationship type of level. So I'm excited to see how all the characters respond to that.
I think that I'm just so excited for everyone to watch these characters grow. I think that there's so much in this season. It's like so hilarious and heartwarming and witty and brilliant as it always is. But you're just gonna see all these characters that you love so much go through these crazy ups and downs. And I know that fans are gonna go wild over it. And I just can't wait for them to experience it with us.
That's such a fun one. Season 3 of Never Have I Ever is now streaming on Netflix. Coming up, one of our favorites, Sterling K. Brown. Not gonna wanna miss that.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks. It's not months.
Exactly.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks. It's not months.
Exactly.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
You open the door for so many people. I love working with people. I did not do any of this by myself.
Hello! Lizzo, you put a smile on every single face.
It feel like Christmas and my birthday or something.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
Thanks for sticking with us here on Popstar Plus. Now, you know him from his role as Randall on the beloved show This Is Us. But now Sterling K. Brown is starring in a satirical comedy, and he stopped by Studio 1A to tell us all about it.
We are back with one of our faves, Sterling K. Brown. He's starring in a new movie. It's called Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul.
It's a mockumentary. It's about a pastor and his wife trying to reopen their church doors after a major scandal. Check it out.
This is going to chronicle the ultimate comeback. This Easter is our revival, our renaissance. We winners, baby. You married a winner. And that's all I intend to do. Hey, I'm Rocky up in this fight. You know?
You're Rocky up in this fight?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, we want to say thank you. We were tired of you making us cry.
Thank you.
It is high time we got a good
Let's get some yucks.
Come on.
Were you tired of making everyone cry?
You know, when people come up to me and be like, oh my God,
Yes.
I get so sad every time I see your show. I'm like, I know you do. Hopefully I can balance it out now.
Yes.
So picking a project after This Is Us and that run,
Yeah.
I mean, it must be a lot of pressure. You're like, I'm like in my moment here.
Yeah.
So what do I do now?
Something different.
Yeah, something different.
I think that's the first thing that you look for. Like, Randall is such a beloved character. I love him, but I want people to know me as like a well-rounded actor who can do a few different things. So doing a little comedy, stepping out with Regina Hall, doing something completely different. That was the goal.
And you said she was your acting crush. Like, you were dying to work with her. How was it?
It was everything I could have hoped for and more.
Oh.
Because her talent is only equaled by her humanity. So beautiful human being and a beautiful performer.
I love just your whole vibe in this. First of all, I love watching you dance. I like you doing your thing. How much fun did you have making this?
I had a blast.
You did?
I grew up in the church and always had such reverence for pastors and sort of like, man, they're performers.
Yeah.
They're up on stage talking to their congregation. There's a call and response similar to being in theater. And so to get a chance to step in on that side was kind of like full circle moment for me.
Didn't your parents used to say, you could be a preacher?
Yeah.
My mom would say that, but then I had also friends' parents who were pastors themselves. My best friend, Philip, his mom and dad had their own church. And they'd be like, ooh, Kelby gonna be a preacher. I said, Kelby ain't gonna be a preacher. I might do something with it, but I ain't doing that.
Now, can I ask you about you're growing your hair out?
I'm growing my hair out.
Okay, is there a reason or just because you like looking at it?
I do like it. You know what it is? I looked around at myself and I'm 46 years old. I was like, not everybody can still do it.
Yes.
Like the hairline starts to retreat.
No, not yours.
It moves back a little bit. I said, I got it all, so I'm gonna play with it a little bit.
Does your wife, what does she think of it?
She likes the hair. Now, what she's concerned about is anytime I try to do something off the beaten path.
Like what?
So if I want to cornrow it,
Have you done it?
Oh, I've cornrowed it before.
Oh, and
that's part of my African-American past. Like, you have to, at one point in time.
And what does she say about that?
Yeah.
I don't know about that, Brown.
She knows.
Did she call you Brown?
She'll call me Brown from time to time, or 2-5, because that was my number in high school.
Oh.
But like the idea of me doing something that is not as conservative as what she's been accustomed to for the past several years.
She's like, I didn't sign up for that. But
Yeah.
what about your little boys?
But they love it.
Yeah.
They love it.
Wait,
they love all of it.
2-5. What sport did you play?
Football.
What was your position?
I was a fullback and an inside linebacker.
Yeah, and did you
Yeah.
play high school and college? Or?
I played high school. And I'm
Yeah.
like Al Bundy. I stopped playing after high school.
Did
Didn't
you?
go beyond. At Stanford University, I thought about trying to walk on. The size of those men.
You were like, no, thank you.
No, thank you. I'm
Do
good.
y'all, does the This Is Us cast still? Are you guys on a text chain, or what are you doing?
That's my family. All day. Like just the other day, shout out to the show who won the HCA for Best Drama on network
Yeah.
television.
Wow.
And shout out to Mandy Moore, who won Best Female Performer in a Lead Role in a Drama. Incredibly well deserving. 8 months pregnant. I love you, Mandy Moore.
What is the bring us into the text chain a little bit.
Yeah.
Like who is the most frequent texter?
Let's see. I mean, everybody kind of takes turns. Huertas, like, we'll say a lot of things. Justin will say a lot of stuff. Sue actually kind of starts things up a lot because she'll be in New York a lot. She's the only person that lives in New York, and everybody else is in LA. So she's like, "What y'all doing?"
She's up early.
Yeah, exactly.
Who is like your grandma or your mom who's like sending like cartoons and like viral videos and stuff?
Chrissy Metz sends like inspirational stuff.
Oh, that's Chris.
That's
She's
our
the
Chrissy.
inspirational
Yeah.
Metz. Yeah, that's
Well, Sterling, we love you. We're excited for this
I
project.
love you guys.
Always great to see Sterling here in the studio. And you can catch Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul in theaters and on Peacock starting September 2nd. Stick around. Up next, an interview from our vault with the great Robert De Niro.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
And what do you love about fatherhood?
The chaos, the learning. Is climate change one of your top priorities?
What's your message to girls who want to make a difference in their own communities?
Believe in yourself.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Popstar Plus. Actor Robert De Niro and director Martin Scorsese have worked on multiple legendary films together over the years. And as De Niro now turns 79 tomorrow, we thought we'd take a second to look back at one of their greatest collaborations, the movie Raging Bull. The duo stopped by the Today Show way back in 1980.
Robert De Niro is among the supreme film actors of our time. An Academy Award winner for Godfather 2. Equally brilliant as a star of The Deer Hunter, Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, 1900, Bang the Drum Slowly. And now De Niro gives an extraordinary performance in Raging Bull, based on the life of former middleweight boxing champion Jake LaMotta. Raging Bull has been directed by the often-honored Martin Scorsese, who has directed De Niro in other films as well, including Taxi Driver. Robert De Niro almost never appears on television, but he's joining us today, this morning, with his director and close friend, Martin Scorsese, in the first of a three-part interview. Raging Bull, one of the best pictures of the year, opened all over the country this past weekend. And I asked Robert De Niro if he considers the character loathsome, a lowlife, and if so, what rules govern his portrayal of such a character.
number one rule that you, as an actor, is that you have to empathize with who you're playing. If you can't, then you're either commenting on them or you're not really, or whatever. You're not really doing them justice, unless it's a satire of a sort. And even in that case, it should be. You should have some love for the character, some kind of sympathy, empathy, and feeling. So, I mean, people would call him a lowlife. And I could call him a lowlife, but there are things about him that I see in myself, and I also and that Marty feels the same way, and what attracted us both about him in the book was the fact there was a certain power about it. There was a certain directness about him as a character, being a fighter, being more primitive, being supposedly more primitive, more direct.
When you play a role during the filming of that film, do you become so much immersed in that character that even when you're not shooting, at the end of the day, are you still that character?
Well, I beat Marty up 3
All
times.
the time. It's embarrassing.
I mean, during Raging Bull?
Yeah, but I always make sure that he's good enough the next morning he can shoot.
Make sure, because I have the shots in my mind. You know, if I get in there.
No, but do it. And then
You really put it aside at night?
Yeah, it's one thing. You go home. I mean, when you're working on a movie, or I guess also a play. I mean, it's always on your mind. I mean, on the weekend, or if you have 5 days off shooting, maybe you'll go away. But it's always there in your mind somehow, and you're always relating it to something. If you see someone do something, and my case, I see anything. It's always there. You can't kind of escape it. The obsession until you finish. That's why there's a certain relief of finishing. And then I always think of it as like being underwater and holding my breath for 16 weeks. And then on the other hand, there's a certain kind of a depression because you're not getting up every morning, you're not working, you're not getting out there and actually doing it. So it's
Would you like to perform more frequently on the stage, or do you prefer film?
I really like to do movies. I spoke to somebody who said to me, we know that they had the attitude that I really should be doing plays and that doing movies was, we know you make a lot of money and all this. And I said, no, I must tell you that I really enjoy doing films very, very much. And I do, that's simple.
Have a heady feeling? Do you feel like you've really got it made, that you are in total control of your careers and you really have the ability and the energy to do what you want to do?
Gene.
I don't mean that in a pejorative sense at all. I mean, do you really feel, boy, I'm really in control. I know what I'm doing. I have the talent. I have the energy, and people will support what I want to do.
No, because you know that, like now, you like the film, and it's nice, and people like the film, and we worked very hard on it, so it's nice it's all nice, but it could be changed. In a year, it could be different.
You consciously fight off the celebrity syndrome?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean,
you don't walk into a restaurant and say, "Where's my table?"
No, I like to get treated well when you walk into a restaurant. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's better. It helps at times. You don't get hassled when you walk in, and that's nice. But on the other hand, I don't like all the other stuff.
Autographs?
I don't mind. I'll sign autographs. But I like my own identity. I like to be myself, my privacy, whatever. When I'm in New York, for example, I'm in New York, or I'll walk down the street. I'll do this. I want to do what I want to do the way I always do it, and that's it. That's very important to me. That's one reason I don't like to do too many things, because I don't want to get too much exposure, like in this situation. But on the other hand, I don't want to not do it all, because I'm not trying to be, like I don't do anything. So, but it's important, because then everybody recognizes, everybody knows you. Hey, how you doing? And it can be a little. I can handle it, but I'd prefer just to be more anonymous, and it's always been that way for me.
But you feel insecure about your career, about your work? Huh?
Of course.
You have fear?
Of course. But the point is that's what I meant about this picture. The only way The only way to make a picture like this.
Get out your worry beads.
This is right over here. I got the money.
Fun fact, Robert De Niro would go on to win the Oscar for his leading role in Raging Bull, and we are certainly wishing him a very happy early birthday. That's going to do it for today's Pop Star Plus. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
Meeting you here. All day, Lynn. Welcome to our digital show today at 30.
Yes, you are watching our half-hour wrap-up, as the name suggests, everything from the show. But then we just condense it into 30 minutes. And we're going to start this morning with the growing war of words between the Justice Department and Donald Trump over the FBI search of his Mar-a-Lago home. Kristen Walker's got a full report just ahead.
She does. And then all eyes on the Wyoming primary today with vocal Trump critic Liz Cheney. She's fighting to keep her seat. We'll have the latest and what that race could signal about the future of the Republican Party.
All that plus an exclusive look at the future of air travel. How does a 3-hour flight from New York to Paris sound to all of you? Sounds good. Even if it takes 10 hours, it sounds good, but 3 hours is better. Tom Costello has the details.
And today marks 45 years since the loss of Elvis. So many people around the world are celebrating his music, his movies, his legacy, and earlier we were able to talk to Priscilla Presley. She joined us live from the Jungle Room in Graceland and how she's honoring the king of rock and roll. So all that coming up on
Today in 30.
We're going to start with NBC's Kristen Welker. She's in D.C. for us this morning. Good morning, Kristen.
Hoda and Savannah, good morning to both of you. The focus is intensifying over whether to release the documents at the very heart of the search of Mar-a-Lago. And overnight, the former president forcefully calling for the affidavit to be unsealed as concern mounts for the safety of law enforcement all across the country.
Overnight, former President Trump calling for the immediate release of the completely unredacted affidavit in the interest of transparency on his social media platform. It comes as federal prosecutors push to keep key documents related to the search of Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago home from public view, revealing that the document has information about important witnesses. Investigators asking a judge to keep the search warrant affidavit sealed, following requests to unseal it from media companies, including NBC News. The affidavit is believed to contain critical information about the government's investigation into the alleged mishandling of classified materials. Prosecutors argue making it public would cause significant and irreparable damage to the ongoing criminal investigation, which involves highly classified materials and highly sensitive information about witnesses.
To me, until we see specificity within the affidavit, we will not have the kind of clarity that the American people need.
Earlier, Mr. Trump accused the FBI of stealing his 3 passports during the search. The FBI responding overnight, saying it follows search and seizure procedures ordered by courts, then returns items that do not need to be retained for law enforcement purposes. A Justice Department official telling NBC News the passports have been given back to the former president. Mr. Trump has spent the last week attacking the FBI, baselessly accusing agents of planting evidence at Mar-a-Lago. That comes as the FBI and DHS step up security around the country after a spike in threats against law enforcement. Now, in an interview with Fox News, Mr. Trump warning the temperature has to be brought down in the country. If it isn't, terrible things are going to happen.
And the current commander-in-chief is watching it all closely. In fact, a White House official tells NBC News that President Biden is being kept apprised of the threats against law enforcement. Hoda?
In the meantime, Kristen, some other big news overnight. Rudy Giuliani coming into the spotlight, a separate criminal investigation that's related back to the 2020 election. What do you know about that?
Hoda, that's absolutely right. And this could be significant. A lawyer for Rudy Giuliani telling NBC News he is now a target of the criminal investigation in Georgia into former President Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. That lawyer had previously said and was told that Giuliani was a witness. Now, Giuliani, of course, was former President Trump's attorney at the time and played a major role in trying to change the election outcome in Georgia. I've been talking to legal experts overnight, Hoda, and they tell me that being labeled a target means prosecutors are looking more closely at whether Giuliani committed a crime. The DA's office right now not commenting. Hoda.
All right, Kristen Welker for us there in Washington. Kristen, thank you.
Let's keep it going on politics and go to today's primary showdowns. The most closely watched one in Wyoming. Liz Cheney, a leader in the Republican resistance to Donald Trump, is locked in a tense fight for her political future. NBC's Vaughn Hilliard joins us from Jackson. Hi, Vaughn. Good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. Despite Donald Trump facing these multiple investigations, he is still finding loyalty from candidates and voters, potentially Wyoming ones here today. And if Liz Cheney, though, loses this primary, it'd be an underlining of the GOP's dramatic evolution.
It's been the race at the top of mind for Donald Trump all year.
I think this is the most important election that we have right here.
The effort to oust Congresswoman Liz Cheney, once the number 3 Republican in the House, will come to a head today in Wyoming. Cheney, after voting to impeach Trump last year, now helping lead the January 6th Select Committee's investigation into Donald Trump's role around the Capitol Hill attack.
President Trump summoned the mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack.
She is now fighting to hold on to the seat she's held since 2017. But Trump endorsing another Republican, Harriet Hageman, who echoes his 2020 election falsehoods. The two campaigned together in the state earlier this summer.
We're fed up with Liz Cheney.
Trump has gone on the attack against those in the GOP who he perceives to be undermining his power in the Republican Party. Cheney at the top of that list.
Liz, you're fired. Get out of here. Get out of here.
10 Republicans in the House voted to impeach Trump. 3 were already beat this summer in their own re-election efforts, and 4 others chose to step aside and retire. Cheney's battle today, representative of the GOP's transformation. In May of last year, she was ousted from her leadership role in Congress by her fellow Republicans, speaking then about Trump's control of the GOP.
What is the hold that President Trump has on the party?
Well, it's very dangerous.
How do you explain it?
I think it's a cult of personality, and I think people were betrayed and misled by him. It's a real betrayal now that he's willing to try to unravel the democracy to get back into power.
And now, with that hold, if anything, intensified, Cheney bringing in her father, the former vice president, in Wyoming Representative Dick Cheney.
There has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump.
The political fate of the Cheneys, however, will come at the hands of voters.
Why not Liz Cheney? She went against Trump.
She
voted for the impeachment.
She's a sellout.
Yes, betrayal.
Now, if Cheney loses this primary today, she'd serve out the rest of her term through the end of the year, including continuing to help lead the January 6th Select Committee. For Cheney, though, I was talking with an ally of hers who tells me that whether she's in or out of office, she'd continue to focus her energy on making sure that Donald Trump never returns to the Oval Office. And as she directly told you last year, Savannah, she will do, quote, whatever it takes, and that could potentially even mean her own 2024 presidential run. Savannah?
All right, we shall see. Vaughn Hilliard in Jackson for us. Thanks.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
You open the door for so many people.
I love working with people. I did not do any of this by myself.
Hello! Lizzo, you put a smile on every single face.
It feel like Christmas or my birthday or something.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate it.
welcome back to you today. We got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Another major airline jumping into supersonic air travel. American Airlines now placing a very big order as it hopes to bring back the age of the Concorde, flying from New York to Paris in just over 3 hours. NBC's Tom Costello broke the story of Boom Supersonic last summer, and he's back with an update. Good morning to you, Tom. I think a lot of people want to know how soon this could happen.
Can you say boom? It'll be that fast. Boom! It looks like the earliest passenger flights could be in 2029. But today, American Airlines becomes the third major airline to announce an order to go supersonic, which means by the end of the decade, you may be able to go to Paris faster than it takes right now to fly across the country.
Time to create the world's fastest airliner?
Could the future of aviation actually be retro?
Time to turn the past into the present.
Like back to the Concorde. It was 2003 when the Concorde last flew passengers over the Atlantic at twice the speed of sound. But the Concorde was too loud and too expensive. A fatal crash in 2000 put an end to the program. Now, Denver's Boom Aviation is promising to take travelers back to the future with a 4-engine plane it calls Overture.
It's about time.
New this morning, American Airlines has signed on, ordering 20 of its own supersonic planes, following United Airlines, which has already ordered 15, both with options for more. Other customers include Japan Airlines and the U.S. Air Force.
There are going to need to be hundreds of Overture aircraft to carry the tens of millions of passengers around the world who can benefit from supersonic.
You think that many people want to go supersonic?
I think everybody wants to go supersonic.
Last year, Boom's CEO gave us a tour. So if I'm a United passenger, I may be flying your supersonic jet by the end of the decade.
By the end of the decade, we want to do supersonic as quickly as possible. We think the world needs this.
Boom says its planes will be lighter, smaller, quieter, and slightly slower than Concorde. Concorde flew at Mach 2. Boom will fly at Mach 1.7, cutting current flight times in half. New York to London in 3.5 hours, Seattle to Tokyo, 4.5, with planes carrying up to 80 passengers.
So every seat, you're going to have a large window where you can see the view from 60,000 feet, the curvature of the earth, the sky a deeper blue.
Boom says its engines will use 100% sustainable fuels. The real question, how many people will pay for a faster supersonic flight?
Are there enough people who would be willing to pay $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 to fly between New York and London in just 3.5 hours? Maybe, but it's a limited market.
But this morning, American and United Airlines believe if you build it, the customers will come. Now, you may recall, a lot of people complained about how loud the old Concorde was. Boom says engine technology has evolved and improved over the past 20 years. They'll fly at Mach 1.7. That's over 1,300 miles per hour over the oceans. When they're over land, though, they'll be under Mach 1. They promise noise reduction systems to meet the noise control laws that are around airports right now. Chanel?
People are going to be talking about this one. All right, thank you, Tom.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this? Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate it.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate it.
Welcome back. As we mentioned this morning, today marks 45 years since the death of Elvis Presley, and a lot of events are being held to remember him today.
In just a moment, we're going to speak with Priscilla Presley, who is live from Graceland. But first, NBC News Now anchor Joe Fryer takes a look at the King's ongoing legacy. Hey, Joe.
Hey there. So think about this. This is hard to imagine. More than half the population is below the age of 45 right now in the U.S., which means they weren't alive during Elvis's life. Yet interest in his life and his music remains incredibly high after all these years.
The love for Elvis is still burning through his movies and his moves. Those signature swivels and shakes are still rattling and rolling today. Well, you may go to college. In new movies like Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, and on social media where the King courts a new audience that can't help falling in love. And that love is not just confined to the screen. Loyal fans can slip on their blue suede shoes and drive their pink Cadillacs to Graceland, where Elvis lived and Angie Marchese works.
Basically, I have probably one of the coolest jobs you can ever imagine.
Why is it the coolest job in the world?
Because I get paid to play with Elvis's stuff.
She started as a tour guide 33 years ago and worked her way up to vice president, managing more than 1.5 million items in the Graceland archives. You never got to meet him, but I bet you feel like you know him.
I feel like he's kind of my long-lost uncle that I never got a chance to meet, but I know everything about.
Of course, Graceland still welcomes the longtime die-hard Elvis enthusiasts, but lately the guest list is all shook up. Newer, younger fans are stopping by after seeing that new Elvis movie or discovering his music on streaming services.
Elvis still has that charisma that's able to attract fans nearly 45 years after his passing.
So if he were around today performing, you think he'd still be a pretty big deal?
Yeah, I think Elvis would still be a pretty big deal. I think Elvis will always be a pretty big deal.
So big, thousands of fans still gather at Graceland around this time every year for Elvis Week, with a few events hosted by his former wife, Priscilla, all to keep his legacy alive, a burning love story. And right now we are nearing the end of Elvis Week. The celebration at Graceland includes music, movies, and last night a candlelight vigil at the gates of Graceland with thousands of people who were in attendance.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. Thank you, Joe. Let's welcome in Priscilla Presley. She's in the famed Jungle Room at Graceland. Priscilla, it's so good to see you. We were just hearing Joe talk about all the beautiful public displays of love and affection, but I was just thinking, when you woke up this morning, today it's been 45 years, what was going through you?
Oh my gosh, it's a big week, that's for sure. And to see the amount of people that still come to see Elvis is unbelievable. We had the vigil last night, the candlelight vigil, 30,000 people showed up. So that says a lot.
It's so meaningful. And of course, Elvis is timeless and ageless in so many ways. Now there's been this new movie. And do you feel like there's a new generation now that's starting to discover him and discover his music?
Absolutely, absolutely, and especially since the movie. I mean, what a great movie. Baz Luhrmann, I have to say, is a genius. I don't know anyone else who could have done this movie like he did. You know, Baz does his own thing. I was a little concerned at first when I heard that Baz was going to do the movie. I actually met him. I invited him to my home. We spent about 4 hours together. He put me a little at ease, but still, I didn't know how it was going to come out. So when I saw saw it. I saw it actually with Jerry Schilling. We had a private screening, and we didn't speak. We didn't talk at all. And at the end, we went, "Wow, this is Elvis."
Wow.
Truly,
It is
Elvis.
That's such high praise from you to think that that's how you viewed that movie. I saw the movie and I was just thinking there were so many moments that were difficult for someone who didn't know Elvis to watch. What was the most difficult part for you to see in that movie?
Oh boy, it's just it was about Colonel and Elvis and Elvis's dream, to take his career further. He wanted to do movies and serious movies. And Colonel Parker just, he should have really probably stayed a publicist because he just didn't have, he didn't take Elvis where he wanted to be. And that was hard because I lived it. I lived the arguments that they had. I lived, Elvis trying to explain that he didn't want to do the movies with all the girls and the beaches and everything, that he really wanted to do serious things. So living that with him and watching the movie, it brought back a lot of memories.
It seems like Colonel Parker, I mean, when you see the movie and see the life, it seems so difficult. He almost saw Elvis just as a commodity, get him on stage, do whatever it takes. I was just wondering, all these years later, have you made peace with what happened with Colonel Parker? Did you ever make peace with him?
Yes, I did. There was two colonels. There was the colonel who was the manager, and there's colonel that was, very, very sweet and very, very nice. I mean, he took care of both his wives. The first one who passed away, he was always there for her, and also his second wife as well. I had dinner with them, and actually Elvis did too, in Palm Springs. And so there was two sides to him: the business, and of course the very gentle side, where he's not working and not, doing anything in show business, I should say. But yes, there was two sides to him. And he was actually, I think it was more, he had to live out what Elvis wanted to do, or he promised Elvis, and that was he was going to make him $1 million, and he wanted to live up to what he promised Elvis.
Priscilla, I think
he made more than $1 million, but that was the.
I think about you on a day like this, Priscilla, and of course you were married. You met him so young. You were just a young teenager, and later got married, and. Now you're the keeper of his legacy. And what does that mean to you? Why do you do it? What does it mean to you?
It's a big responsibility, yes, but I want to, carry it out and give him the things that he always wanted to do and wanted in his life. A lot of it, many of it, well, not many, but he wanted to, sing with an orchestra. And I was able to get the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra to be, of course, the symphony of which he would be singing with, and carry that out for him. That was his dream. So anything that he wanted to do or wished to do as far as in life, I want to try to get that to happen.
Wow, Priscilla, it's such a joy to speak with you, especially on this day. I hope you enjoy the rest of the festivities that are for the rest of the day today. Thank you again for joining us.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to go spend some time with you. Appreciate it.
summer break has left your home, let's just say, a little less organized than you'd like, do not worry, because the incredible ladies, our friends from the Home Edit, they got you covered.
Yeah, with a hit Netflix series, 2 best-selling books, and an Instagram account with nearly 7 million followers, Clea Shearer and Joanna Teplin are helping people declutter their zone,
And
one
now,
place at a time.
Yeah, they are, and they're out with their second issue of the Home Edit magazine. And Clea's going to join us now from her office in Nashville. We'll talk about the mag in a bit. But Clea, as you have been so brave in sharing with the world, you are currently going through chemo for breast cancer. You have been such a warrior, and you've really been kind to share this journey with everybody. So I know everybody wants to know how you're doing and how you're feeling.
Hi, guys. I miss you. I wish I was in studio. But I am doing well. I'm plugging away, one day at a time, 1 week at a time. My motto is cancer-free by Christmas. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Everybody has their own sort of mental way that they get through this. And you've had some difficult moments. When you thought you were done with chemo, you ended up having to go a step back, and you started it all up again. So what is it you tell yourself when you wake up in the morning, or how do you deal with what you're going through?
Well, my son drew me a picture the other day. We were at a restaurant, and he was just coloring on a kid's menu, and he drew me a picture that said, "You're braver than a lion." And after I was done, silently sobbing at that, I realized that every single day I have to be braver than a lion, not just for me, but for them. And I don't want them to think that their mom is sick. I look at my treatment as something that's healing, even though sometimes it makes me sick. So I just, every single day, I'm like, I need them to feel that I am just as alive and vibrant as they think I am. And, I need to wake up every day and be their mom. I think that most of us wake up who are moms with that mentality. So it's just a little extra push for me these days.
One of the things you're really good at is finding that silver lining. And I loved hearing from you about how you are embracing this season of life and how, it's forced you to slow down. I mean, we know, Clea, that you are amazing. Look behind you. It's all rainbow organized and you're a go-getter and you're used to just being like the type A plus personality. But what has it been like to slow down and embrace a different pace of life?
Well, it's not normal for me to slow down. And I think about, before I announced publicly, I think the day before I announced publicly that I had breast cancer, I actually was at the Today offices. I was with Hoda, and I confided in Hoda that I had breast cancer. And she held my hand, Hoda, thank you, and said, you need to slow down. And this might be, the way the universe is kind of forcing you to slow down a little bit. And I think that that's exactly right. So this has been a time of learning how to be patient, of learning how to not be in control of things, of learning how to just be a little more quiet, to find some solace and peace and calm, and not just have to be go, go, go. So it's a real test for me. This is not normal, but I've been, again, I've been plugging away, and I'm going to do it. So I'm making it through.
Well, you are doing it.
Yeah, you definitely are. And we just want to celebrate your magazine, too. That's a good thing to celebrate. And a little birdie told me that if you leaf through the pages of this edition of your magazine, the second edition, we'll find someone we know very well and love. You've got Miss Savannah Guthrie in there.
Yes, you will. Savannah's kitchen. Well, first of all, Savannah herself looking stunning. But Savannah's kitchen, pantry, our team was so excited to create a hub, for the family and, turn her already gorgeous apartment just that much up.
How hard was it to organize? I know. How hard was it? Don't try to make her feel good.
An army.
No, come on.
An army came.
No, Savannah's actually pretty well organized already, so it's never hard. This is the second time we've organized for Savannah, and it's always a pleasure.
So it took 2 times.
Okay, good. Savannah has it down.
just making sure we've got it clear.
The funniest thing that you're going to appreciate, Clea. So I was wearing this dress that I've had for a lot of years. I think I wore it when I was pregnant, so it's like an old dress and too big for the shoot. So then they're like, that dress is sort of dumpy or whatever. I'm like, we need to tighten it up. We'll just put some chip clips, which you guys had helpfully organized. So I knew address where to find those potato
now
chip
that's
clips,
Savannah.
and that's how we did it.
Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that works.
That's the truth. That's the truth of it.
Well, it's incredible. You guys have your show. You have the magazine. The magazine's cool because you have a lot of like tips and tricks. Because sometimes I think I know I'm intimidated. I can't do what you guys do, but you have a lot of tips and tricks in there.
Yeah.
We do, and in addition to your kitchen, we have a lot of other lifestyle things in addition to kind of organizing tips and tricks. We have our friend Heather McMahon featured in the issue. She gives kind of her guest room do's and don'ts. We have our friend Tan France from Queer Eye. He gives some fashion advice. So we're trying to kind of run the gamut and feature all sorts of things that could be helpful to people, whether it's organization or whether it's just lifestyle.
All right. Well, Clea, we love you.
Love you, Clea.
You're an inspiration. Keep going. Keep going. You're the best.
Love you.
By the way, you can pre-order the fall issue of the
Thank you.
Home
I love you
Edit
guys.
Feel Good Organizing magazine starting next Tuesday. Hope you liked that. We will see you back here tomorrow for another big show.
Have a great Tuesday, everybody.
New York City is home to so many iconic foods. But when the city that never sleeps wakes up for breakfast, they want a bagel with a cream cheese schmear piled high with lox.
There's no other city that makes a bagel like a New York City bagel.
I have not had good bagels in any other city.
I came out the womb eating bagels.
It's time to head out of Studio 1A and hit the road for a new kind of culinary adventure. Follow me as I taste some of the most iconic foods around the country and meet the families behind them. Together, we're going to learn how a good meal has the power to connect us to our past, our future, and each other. If New York's known for anything, it's its bagels. And we got them all. Everything bagels, rainbow bagels, pumpkin bagels, croissant bagels, and of course you can't have them without a schmear. While the bagel first came from Poland, many food historians say its pairing with salmon and cream cheese originated right here in the Big Apple. In this town, few specialty food shops are as beloved and as historic as Russ and Daughters.
I've been waiting in line probably 15, 20 minutes, but it's definitely worth it.
I like the contrast of the flavor. It's like a nice little bagel with salty lox.
Something about the salmon and cream cheese together. Like I try to make it at home, but it's nothing compared to Russ and Daughters.
They've been serving premium smoked fish to hungry New Yorkers and folks from around the world for over 100 years. Just a few blocks from the store is the Russ and Daughters Cafe.
Hi, Al.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome to the Russ and Daughters Cafe.
Nice to see you
great to
guys.
have you here.
Thanks for having us. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
Nikki Russ Fetterman and Josh Russ Tupper are the grandchildren of the original Daughters. These cousins are fourth-generation owners, carrying on their family's culinary legacy.
So this is Russ and Daughters. This is our great-grandfather, Joel Russ, who started the business, his wife, Bella, and his 3 daughters. Josh and I have the same grandmother, Anne. She was the youngest of the 3.
Was it unusual at that time for you, because you usually would see so-and-so and sons, but to see Russ and Daughters?
Very unusual.
But, I mean, honestly, if he had had sons, it probably would have been Russ and Sons.
Well, thank goodness he did.
We like to think of him as a feminist, but he was a good businessman.
Joel Russ immigrated from Poland in 1907.
And he started just standing on the streets of the Lower East Side selling schmaltz herring out of a barrel. And a family could feed itself for 2 nights with 1 fish.
In 1914, he opened his first brick and mortar shop, J. Russ National Appetizing. Joel and his wife had 3 daughters, Hattie, Ida, and Ann. When they turned 11, each daughter began working with their dad. What was their relationship like with him? Because he's your dad, but he's also
Your boss.
Your boss.
Yeah. And I think he cared more about being the boss and the shopkeeper. He was a new immigrant to this country who was just trying to survive and make a place for his family. And that was his focus. And he saw his children as cheap labor.
The sisters grew up learning all aspects of the business. In 1935, Hattie, Ida, and Ann became Joel's partners. The shop was renamed Russ and Daughters making it the first in America to bear "and daughters" in its title.
When your great-grandfather decided to start Russ and Daughters, why the Lower East Side?
After Ellis Island, this was the starting off point for the majority of poor Jewish immigrants. This is where they landed and they got their start. And so he was just feeding basic food to other poor immigrants like himself.
At the turn of the century, this neighborhood was one of the most densely populated places on the planet. Many immigrants from all around the world lived in overcrowded tenement buildings, the conditions having a profound impact on their diets.
One of the things about Lower East Side Jewish food is that a lot of food wasn't made at home. When you don't have running water and when you don't have electric or gas stoves, it's really hard to do very much cooking. And so for women who are responsible for feeding their families, they had to get food from push carts, from restaurants, from bakeries.
Joel Russ was one of many vendors catering to this new population.
I've always been curious, how did it come about, or from what you've heard, that somebody thought, hey, you know, here's this round bread, we'll put some fish on it, but oh, by the way, before we do, let's put some cream cheese, some dairy on it.
Yeah. First of all, Russ and Daughters is the torchbearer of what's called appetizing. And this is a food tradition born here in New York, and it's the sister food tradition to delicatessen, both of which come up through the Jewish kosher dietary rules. You have to separate fish and dairy from meat. So a delicatessen, strictly speaking, is for meat. The appetizing store is where you go for fish and dairy, things like herring, smoked fish. When we say bagel and lox, most people are, we're referring to a smoked salmon, but the original bagel and lox was not with smoked salmon.
Technically, lox, or belly lox, is salmon cured in salt, which preserves fish without refrigeration. There's no smoking involved, and it's incredibly salty, so it pairs perfectly with tangy cream cheese. But who was the first person to put lox on a bagel?
So no one really knows how bagels, lox, and cream cheese all came together. We know that bagels come from Eastern Europe. We know that lox kind of comes basically from Nova Scotia, kind of. We know that cream cheese is an American food. But what we know is that these things come together as part of a compromise between different generations of American Jews.
Jewish law prohibits cooking with most heat sources on the Sabbath. So the combo of bagels and lox created a filling meal for observant Jews to enjoy on the day of rest.
It's good for a family, but you or your daughter-in-law didn't have to be spending the previous day cooking.
As one of the country's oldest appetizing stores, Russ and Daughters has been serving kosher meals for generations. And the weekends are still their busiest days.
I can't think really of anything that's more New York than lox and bagels.
I agree. I think that this is a food that came up through the Eastern European Jewish immigrants to New York. But now it's transformed and just become New York food. It belongs to all New Yorkers.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
In the United States, women own less than 20% of all businesses. At the iconic Russ and Daughters, co-owner Nikki Russ Fetterman is building on the legacy of her grandmother and great aunts.
Growing up, you followed in the footsteps of strong women who may not have chosen this, but took it on and obviously made it really successful. What is it like for you following in those footsteps?
It's a tremendous feeling to be now the and great-granddaughter. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a good customer of ours. Her family came from the Lower East Side, and she once said that before she knew the word feminist, when she looked up at the sign, Russ and Daughters, she understood that women could have an impact.
Your family's business, Russ and Daughters, has survived 2 world wars, a depression. You're here in the shadow of the World Trade Center.
Yes.
Why has this place been able to not just survive, but thrive?
I think because in each generation there has been someone who wanted to do this. This is food that people turn to for comfort in hard times. And during the pandemic, we saw that. People were shipping Russ and Daughters all over the country to their loved ones because they couldn't be together. And so sending, bagels and lox and babka, say, I love you, I miss you. Here, let me feed you.
Having a schmear over Zoom.
Oh, there was a lot of that.
Okay, so you can get smoked fish pretty much everywhere these days, but not quite like this. The salmon sold at Russ and Daughters is prized for its high fat content, from the milder Gaspé Nova to the smokier Scottish. And this gourmet fish is all sliced by hand.
When you hold it up, it's almost translucent.
That. Yeah, I think we should show you how we get it that thin.
Yeah, me and a sharp utensil, what could possibly go wrong?
It takes up to 6 months of training to master the slicing technique here.
So Al, I hear you have some knife skills.
Well, I've been in a fight or two, but it's probably nothing like yours. So how long have you been slicing salmon?
I've been at the store for 20 years.
Wow.
So I've been slicing for a while.
All right. So I watch people slice, and I'm amazed at how patient, because it seems like that's part of the skill.
The reality is, when you know how to slice, it is one of the most relaxing things you can do.
Very zen.
Very zen.
Ooh.
Meditative, right? The trick is, don't look anywhere on the fish. You have to really feel the fish.
Be the fish.
Be the fish, which is a very difficult concept to train someone.
Understood.
And particularly the first couple slices are, don't be upset if they don't look great. The idea is to make a consistently thick slice. You making faces at me, Al?
No, I'm just watching you not watch the fish. All right.
Okay.
Here we go. Be the fish. Not looking.
You should look.
I should look.
You got a sharp knife in your hand, Al, and you can see that as you change the angle of the knife, it changes the thickness.
Yeah.
Right?
So now that's
drastically, more than you think.
That's more than, oh my gosh, that's a very thick
We call
slice.
those chuletas.
Chuletas?
Yeah. Chops.
Ah.
In Spanish.
I was going to say, that didn't sound Yiddish.
Not
That did
Yiddish.
not sound
Not
Yiddish to
Yiddish.
me.
Yeah.
Does the way you cut it affect the taste of it or the texture of it?
The texture, which affects the experience of the salmon.
It's almost like you're eating the essence of salmon, not salmon.
It's very delicate. It's a very appealing texture and mouthfeel. Yeah, the thinner.
Josh, thanks so much. Nice meeting you.
Such a pleasure to have you.
Smoke them if you got them. Up next, how fresh salmon gets turned into lox.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
You open the door for so many people.
I love working with people. I did not do any of this by myself.
Hello! Lizzo, you put a smile on every single face.
It feels like Christmas or my birthday or something.
Welcome back to Today. We got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
I'm here at the Acme Smoked Fish Factory. Now there is something fishy going on in there, and you better believe I'm going to find out what it is. The folks at Acme process, smoke, and pack nearly 8 million pounds of fish every year. They sell to eateries all over the country, including Russ and Daughters. It smells of smoke and it smells of fish.
That's the way it's supposed to be. It smells like New York City.
Yes.
All right, so as you know, in any food plant, food safety is of paramount importance.
Right.
I see you got your boots on
I
here.
just happen to be wearing these.
Awesome. I'll walk you through the process of how salmon turns into smoked salmon.
Adam Kaslow is the 4th generation owner of Acme Smoked Fish. His great-grandfather, Harry Brownstein, started selling fish after immigrating from Russia to Brooklyn.
Harry started in the smoked fish business in the early 1900s, in 1906 to be exact.
Out of a push cart?
Out of a horse-drawn wagon.
Wow.
He would go around buying fish from different smokehouses throughout Brooklyn and Queens and had himself the sales route. You know, he worked close to 45 years. I mean, his dream was to open up his own smokehouse, and it took him 45 years to finally achieve that.
Wow. Adam now runs a massive smoked fish empire, supplying many of New York City's popular bagel shops, from H&H to Essa Bagel. Acme also selling to national grocers like Trader Joe's.
At the end of the day, it's all about the fish. We bring in fish from all over the world. Smoked salmon is probably the most popular thing that we make, and our salmon come from different places: Norway, Scotland, Chile, and Alaska.
It can take up to 5 days to make smoked salmon. Every order is made to the buyer's tastes, from the type of salmon to the curing method. The first step, cutting a whole fish into fillets. Whoa!
Yeah, so this is a 12-kilo whole salmon that I caught over here in Long Island Sound. No, I'm just kidding. This is an Atlantic salmon. It's farm raised. We use Atlantic salmon because it has the most fat, and fat equals flavor when making smoked salmon.
Right. So what are you cutting out, the backbone there?
Yeah, this is the bone.
Carving into a fish this size requires expert hands. After the fish is filleted, it's preserved with salt. The fish is then treated with a wet brine or a dry cure.
Okay, so let's dry cure some salmon.
Good.
First thing, we're gonna get it onto the raft.
Okay.
So, see if you can pick up this salmon, grab it by the tail.
Okay.
Grab with your other hand.
Underneath.
And we're gonna lay it onto the screen.
Okay.
Perfect. Great. Step 2, we're gonna grab a handful of soap.
So it's just a thin layer.
Yep. Right along the top of the dorsal. Like kind of down the center line, I suppose. And we'll give it a nice lug tap.
That's it?
That's it. This fish is rather large, so traditionally we would probably wet brine this fish, but for smaller fish, the dry cure lasts about 24 hours.
Okay. That's a huge fish.
Right.
After curing, the fillets are cold smoked for up to 20 hours. This process imparts a subtle, smoky flavor.
Let me show you how the smoker works. So, these are a collection of that wood chip blend that we were talking about earlier.
There are different ways to smoke fish fillets. Hot smoking results in flaky, opaque fillets. Unlike traditional locks, smoked salmon is cold smoked below 85 degrees. This helps the fish retain its silky texture and makes it perfect for slicing.
Ready to help me get this bad boy into the oven?
You bet.
All right. All right.
Hey now.
Let's close her up.
Woo! Shut her down. After the smoker, the fish is cooled, then packed for shipping.
What would your great-grandfather say if he could see all of this?
I think he'd be amazed at how difficult it was for him to achieve his dream.
Right.
Now his descendants have been able to build upon that dream and build us into one of the preeminent smokers in the U.S.
Up next, a vegan deli taking on tradition with plant-based lox and cashew cream cheese? Oh, you don't want to miss this.
You open the door for so many people.
I love working with people. I did not do any of this by myself.
Hello! Lizzo, you put a smile on every single face.
It feel like Christmas or my birthday or something.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
What do you love about fatherhood?
The chaos, the learning. Is climate change one of your top priorities?
What's your message to girls who want to make a difference in their own communities?
Believe in yourself.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive. Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Back on the Lower East Side, two sisters, inspired by their Jewish heritage, are on a mission to make the food they loved growing up in a more sustainable way. Ladies, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Boom,
you.
want to show me around?
Please, come
Please,
on in.
lead away. Erica and Sarah Kabursky are the co-owners of Orchard Grocer, an entirely vegan market inspired by classic delicatessens.
This is our healthy cashew cream cheese.
They want to make the vegan lifestyle easier for all. Right after college, they opened their first business, a shoe store called Moo Shoes.
We opened our vegan shoe store 20 years ago.
How are they? They're comfortable?
About 5 years ago, we decided that we were going to update it by adding our vegan grocer, basically because it seemed like that's what our customers want. After asking us what our shoes were made of, probably where should I go eat was the second most common question. So we decided to create an experience where they could just go eat next door.
Growing up in Queens, the sisters' Jewish culture and food were closely linked. They had 10 Jewish delis in their neighborhood alone.
Probably every Sunday, it's a tradition in our family, a dozen bagels at the bagel store. A dozen always meant 15. I don't know why that was, but with the cream cheese and lox, and that was just how we spent our Sundays.
Both sisters became vegan as teenagers, but felt they lost a piece of their roots by giving up certain foods.
I think our parents were supportive of our changes to the vegan lifestyle. We grew up in a very culturally Jewish household, so all of our traditions were just based around food.
Today, a lot of folks are going vegan for a variety of reasons, from reported health benefits to concerns over animal welfare. For the sisters, it's also a matter of global importance.
We're watching climate change happen right now, and I think that's causing a lot of people to think twice about what they're eating and how they are contributing. So it makes sense to us that it is becoming so mainstream.
In 2017, Sarah and Erica saw not just an opportunity to satisfy a growing market, but to pay homage to their Jewish roots.
We wanted to have a good sandwich selection that really epitomizes like New York deli food. So obviously a bagel and lox was going to be there.
Orchard Grocer sells a variety of vegan sandwiches, including Reubens and tuna melts. But the sisters are most passionate about serving up a sense of nostalgia.
People are so worried about giving things up. So I think just creating those alternatives and just something that people are familiar with and gives them that feeling of home.
Yeah, like we haven't had to give up our Sunday tradition of bagels and lox.
To help make their unique deli a reality, the sisters hired vegan chef Nora Vargas. Nora shares a passion for plant-based foods. She also knows how to turn carrots into salty lox. How did you come up? I mean, you have to think, okay, what can mimic a smoked salmon?
Yeah.
So how did you, was it look like you thought, well, the only orange vegetable out there,
Exactly.
other than a sweet potato, is carrot.
We know the texture that we need to go for. We know the flavor that we want to go for. So we started with the color and then we just kind of built it from there.
Okay, so let's get started. I'm really fascinated.
Okay, all right, I'm excited. So we have prepared, what do we have, maybe 10 pounds of carrots here for you.
These are huge. These would have been huge carrots.
Seriously, yeah, like the size of my forearm.
But you have sliced them very thin on a mandolin?
Yes, yeah,
okay.
Exactly. All right, so we're all gloved up and we are going to, the next step in this process is to apply our rub to our carrots. So in here we have a mixture of sugar, salt, and the rest I can't tell you about.
Oh, it's a secret kind of thing. So this would be kind of like the brine that you would use, the dry brine that you would use on fish.
Exactly.
Except it's going on vegetables.
Yeah. We got our inspiration for a lot of different components of this recipe from the way that you would actually prepare fish if we were preparing fish and not carrots.
Right.
Coat everything.
Interesting.
Oh no, don't smell it. Don't figure out the secret just by smelling it. Okay, now.
Because if I figure it out, she's gonna have to kill me.
So I'm just gonna start rubbing, just smushing everything in there. Once we get everything coated, we would let this sit for 3 to 6 hours probably. Okay, great. So I think we nailed it.
Okay.
In here.
Another secret ingredient?
Definitely.
Jeez,
Yeah, but I can tell
a lot
you.
of secrets here at Orchard.
I'll tell you a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a combination of olive oil and aquafaba.
Aquafaba?
Yeah, are you familiar with that ingredient?
I don't know.
You know when you're opening up a can of beans
and
you gotta drain them?
Yes.
The stuff that you drain out, that's aquafaba.
Aquafaba?
It's bean water.
It's bean juice?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pour,
Okay.
and then you can kind of do the same process
Okay,
that we
same
did before.
process.
Just squish it all in there, okay? Yeah, perfect. After we had let our carrots sit for 3 to 6 hours, we tossed them in the oven.
So they bake.
We like to call it cold smoking, just to sound like classy.
Like the process of making smoked salmon.
Exactly, yeah.
That does look very much like smoked salmon. And what would a bagel and lox be without the cream cheese? This vegan spread is made with raw cashews, salt, some secret spices, and coconut oil, all blended together with soft tofu.
Should we make a bagel?
Sure, let's do it. Chive talking. Cheers. This is a really terrific idea.
Thank you.
Thank you for opening my eyes.
Oh, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. That was fantastic. Okay, a great way to finish things up. I mean, we've seen the history, we've gone to the past, we were in the present, and you have brought us the lox and bagels of the future! A bagel with cream cheese and smoked salmon is a uniquely American combination. Born from Jewish roots, transformed by local ingredients, and carried on by new generations, this breakfast tradition has truly stood the test of time when it comes to food in New York City.
It's so nice to have you with us for Today Goes Back to School. The countdown to the new school year is officially on, and we have pulled together a team of experts focusing on everything you need for a successful school year, from how to save on must-have items to academics and much more. But first, in anticipation of the most wonderful time of the year, our Today Show family shared their favorite back-to-school traditions. Take a look.
The one word I would use to describe back to school is exciting.
New beginning.
A fresh start.
Relief. Sweet relief.
I love a new possibility. I love new beginnings.
I was a teacher too, and whenever September rolls around, I get that feeling in my stomach of the fresh season.
I was the kid at the end of the school year who actually cried. So whatever the opposite of that feeling was of crying, that's how I felt every year when the school year began.
Growing up, my favorite tradition was going back to school shopping.
School shopping is always fun. All those new notepads and pencils and scissors, and can we please buy a glue stick? Please, just this once.
To this day, true story, I walk into CVS and I look at the binder section and the notebook section in the fall, and I think I've got to get some notebooks and some binders.
My sister and I would get matching outfits, and we would set everything out that we were going to wear for the first day of school. I mean, from head to toe.
We like to celebrate the beginning of the school year by having a family dinner, talk about what we're excited about and what we're nervous the night before school starts.
The night before school, maybe a family dinner. The girls pick out whatever they want. Inevitably, it's pizza, so everybody wins. Back to school is something to be excited about, and certainly they're excited.
I like to get them a special backpack because they like to put their snacks in there, and then more snacks and more snacks. And they get to decorate it and get to do whatever they want.
We love making the first day of whatever grade they're starting. We love making that sign, taking that picture.
They've got the fresh haircut, new clothes, the sneakers are clean, the backpack is clean, because then you fast forward to the end of the year and it looks totally different.
We would go and we'd get the notebooks and the pencils and the trapper keepers and everything, and they were all excited because school hadn't started yet. And within 6 months, that was all out the door.
I try to give energy to my kids to be excited the night before school starts, to say, you know what, this is going to be an awesome year.
I love bringing back those memories. Okay, so we have brought together a panel of experts to answer the most searched questions for back to school. I'm joined by NBC News medical contributor, Dr. Natalie Azar, Katie Hurley, a child and adolescent psychotherapist, and Kurt Russell, the country's 2022 Teacher of the Year. Welcome, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dylan.
Okay, so some of the top questions, obviously, Dr. Natalie, we'll start with you, involve COVID. So what's the latest guidelines? What can parents expect when they send their kids back to school?
You know, Dylan, I think the number one thing that parents should kind of be aware of going into the school year is what are your school's policies, And what is their mechanism for communicating to you? I think we all can remember getting emails from the superintendent, and this is our policy, and we're following CDC guidance, but maybe we're modifying it a little bit. So I think going into the school year, it's important, especially as a working parent, for childcare and things like that, to know what your school's policy is regarding, isolation and quarantine. Every child now, 6 months and older, is eligible for vaccination. So, most schools obviously are not mandating that, but if your child is above the age of 6 months, they can certainly be vaccinated. And I think then the big question is about boosters. Pretty easy to remember if you think of the number 5. Everyone over the age of 5 is eligible for their first booster if you had the original, 2 series mRNA about 5 months after you completed that. In terms of a second booster, if you're over the age of 12 and with an immunocompromising condition, or you're over the age of 50, you are technically eligible for a second booster. A lot of parents are wondering right now about whether or not they're going to get the new bivalent vaccine, right? That's going to have the original Omicron strain, or the original strain, I should say, plus Omicron. At this point, we have no information that children are going to be eligible for that updated vaccine. So kids, if you haven't been vaccinated at all, you're still going with the original series, and you're boosting with the original.
Okay, but every school is different, so make sure you need to know what your school's
policies are. Yeah, so you're not, caught off guard.
Okay. Katie, there's a lot of anxiety going back to school. Some kids haven't been in a classroom setting all that long. I'm sending my son to first grade for the first time in a whole new school. So there is a lot of anxiety for parents and for kids. So how can we ease it for everybody in the family?
Well, I think the first thing, Dylan, is really just talking about it and being really open about it, because a lot of kids, from the little ones up through the college students, are just experiencing a wide variety of anxiety and stressors. So just really saying, it's okay if you feel a little bit worried. I feel a little bit worried too. What can we do about that? So one thing I talk about with little kids is creating worry boxes, where they can just kind of decorate a little box and then stick their worries in day by day, one by one. It's just a way of getting it out and really talking about it with a grown-up or someone else in the family. With older kids, I like to talk about doing zones of control. So, worries, I always say anxiety lives in the past, the woulda, coulda, shoulda, or in the future, the what ifs. So if we can all remain sort of present in what we're doing today, and we can say, what's within my zone of control today? Today I can pack my backpack, I can get my new school supplies, I can cuddle with a grown-up, I can read a book with a grown-up, just things like that. Just sometimes just these everyday sort of strategies really help kids feel calm. And always when parents or grown-ups in the home are showing a sense of calm, that helps kids see that, okay, it's okay to feel worried, but I can do this.
And it's okay for parents to express their worry to their kids also, within reason, I'm assuming?
Within reason, yes. I mean, we don't want to put all of our, global worries onto our kids, right? But it's okay to normalize it and say, yeah, I feel worried sometimes too. And you know what I do? I like to take a walk, or I like to just sit and pet the dog while I look at a magazine, or whatever you like to do. The more open we are about it, the more kids learn that, okay, it's okay to have all these different emotions, and I can figure out a way to get through that, whether it's coloring or, listening to music or getting outside.
Okay. And Kurt, let's bring you in here because you are the 2022 Teacher of the Year. So parents have that back to school night. They get the first chance to talk to their kids' teachers. What should they be asking? What should they learn from that meeting?
Dylan, that's a great question. And similar to parents, teachers are nervous as well, right? And so I had to talk to myself. So parents should just be a cheerleader for their children. You can do this. Let me encourage you. What you are going to expect within the classroom is this and that. And so I think we have to be honest with our children as they go through school, and making sure that they are comfortable enough, making sure that they know their classes, right? Make sure that they know the bus stops. So take that anxiety off of them, as Katie mentioned earlier. It makes things more smoother, makes things more accurate for our children as they go through school.
Okay. Real quick, I just want to get to each one of you a tip that you have. Kurt, let's start with you.
Be a cheerleader.
Okay.
That's the most important thing, being an encourager for parents, for their children.
Okay. Katie?
Be a good listener. I always say follow the 80-20 rule. Listen 80%, talk 20.
Oh, that's good. And Dr. Natalie?
I wish I could say it's just COVID that we have to worry about, but parents out there, one of the biggest unintended consequences of the pandemic was missing childhood vaccinations. We already are seeing a lot of flu in the southern hemisphere this year, so flu's going to be a big deal for your kids this year. Polio vaccine, right? That's in the news. Make sure your kids are up to date on all of their childhood vaccinations.
So get back to the doctor.
Get back to
I
the
know we
doctor.
all kind of skipped that for a little while there. Dr. Natalie, Katie, Kurt, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for that great advice. All right, coming up, let's get organized. Real Simple's editor-in-chief is here with great tips on how to get your family and your home organized for the new school year.
And what do you love about fatherhood?
The chaos, the learning.
Is climate change one of your top priorities?
What's your message to girls who want to make a difference in their own communities?
Believe in yourself.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months.
Exactly.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
You open the door for so many people. I love working with people. I did not do any of this by myself.
Hello! Lizzo, you put a smile on every single face.
It feel like Christmas or my birthday or something.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Today All Day's Back to School Boot Camp. And as summer days wind down, busy back to school schedules are starting to kick into high gear. And Real Simple editor-in-chief Lauren Iannotti has a few hacks to help parents and students set themselves up for success this fall. Hi, Lauren. I think we really need your tips today.
I know. That's why I'm here. Listen, I'm living it too. This is my life, and that's why I've got all these tips that are going to help you get in a good position to start that school year.
And I love it. And just reading through these, I think organization is the general theme here, and it's key. And you say first things first, have a command center in your house. What's that?
Right. So rather than just kind of thinking of like a little corner of your kitchen counter as being the place where stuff happens, you need to designate a space. It should be centrally located. Everybody knows where it is. Everybody can access it, so they don't always have to be like, Dad, when is my mom? When is my big calendar, paper calendar I recommend, so you can flip ahead to months ahead and get all the important scheduling stuff on there. And then have an inbox where all the most urgent papers come in, and then you can sort them. But you want them to start there so you know that they're important. And then maybe have like some hanging file folders. I love that because it doesn't take up a ton of space. You can put it right on the wall.
Right.
And I just want to emphasize here, like, it might not be perfectly beautiful. If you can make it beautiful, make it beautiful. But it needs to be functional, and what it's going to do is just make sure everybody knows all the information they need to start their day.
So whatever works for your family, just make sure you have it.
Precisely.
Okay, so I'm usually working during the whole get dressed for school thing, but this is a great hack to kind of have the week planned out for kids.
This is a great hack that we did in Real Simple, where you take a shoe holder and a clean one, a new one maybe, and you label it by day of the week, and you put an outfit in each one. And you just look at the weather ahead of the week and you'll know, and then just get it in there, and they know seamlessly. They just kind of grab it and they can put it on. It helps them take some ownership over themselves. They learn how to like sort of dress themselves. And you know, you can do it right from the laundry when you're folding clothes, just put them right in there so you save yourself steps.
That's a good idea, because I hate putting laundry away, so this way it just goes right on the shelf. Okay, so once the kids are dressed, it's time for lunch.
Okay, it's time to get lunches ready and feed and breakfast. So for breakfast, make ahead. You know, it's like take a little bit of time on Sunday or a little bit of time on Monday morning, get up a little bit early, you can have that quiet time in the kitchen, and make ahead breakfast. We have a great story in the magazine this month about breakfast tacos. Imagine like a breakfast taco on a Tuesday morning, right? So you make them ahead, freeze them.
Grab it.
Mini frittatas, we've got all these great ideas. So I highly recommend that, because that'll keep them full and sated until lunchtime.
Okay.
And lunchtime is a battle. We've talked about this.
I do not like making lunch. I just feel like it's never healthy, it's never quick, it's never easy, it's just
And are they actually going to eat it? And they, you know.
Yes.
So it's a pain point for me too. And what we recommend is that you buy stuff in bulk and then you create a grab and go grocery basically in your house. So they can just come up to the bins and be like, I want this granola bar, I want this chips, I want
this. These dried fruit, and then you also do it for fresh stuff, for fresh fruits and vegetables. Chop it up, and you're going to put it in you're going to chop a whole bunch up for the week, and put it in the fridge. Find some space in the fridge, and they can grab it. And that also, again, helps them learn how to build a healthy lunch themselves, and it makes sure that they're getting everything that they need.
And you know they're getting what they want too, so
and
it doesn't all come back home from school with them.
Exactly.
Okay, so when it comes to getting organized, I feel like clutter just piles up on the table for me. So how do we avoid the clutter?
So the return home from the things is always a challenge, and you can come into your house and see just like it's like a war zone. There are book bags everywhere, and there are laptop bags, and what we want to do is avoid that. So we have all kinds of strategies for entryway. It should be visible, open storage. Pegs, hooks are great, so the kids can put their coats on themselves. Baskets labeled for their book bags, so they know which one is theirs, and there's no guesswork. And then the next morning, when you're trying to get out the door, you know exactly where everything is. And then you can put these catch-alls on a counter. They'll just for the small things. You don't want it to pile up too much, but everyone can throw their keys if you have bigger kids with keys. Sunglasses, just the little things that they're going to need to grab right on the way out the door. Masks, great place to have masks if they're still wearing masks in school, and take the guesswork out of it, right? And that's just, I know it seems very type A, but you're going to help yourself.
But if you have the option, maybe it'll actually end up in that option.
100%.
So, yes, okay. So homework is also a thing. I'd imagine staying organized so that homework is less stressful is a good idea also.
100%. Homework, my daughter is going to 2nd grade, and she is so excited to have homework.
Really?
Homework is a fun thing.
So you say that now.
I know. I think we make it less fun by putting stress on kids about it. I think the way to keep them loving homework and to keep them doing it and make sure they do it on time is to make it seamless and set them up for success. This is an adorable homework caddies. Everything that they need, keep it where they're gonna be doing the work, but it's also portable. So if today we're gonna be at the dining table, you can buy a caddy and just stock it up, or you can DIY it. We have a great idea, real simple, about getting a shoebox, and it involves toilet paper rolls, and the kids would love it. They get to color it themselves and everything.
Right.
And just what that means is they sit down and they just get to it. And then we have this other great hack about time management for kids, because again, all of these things, you're trying to teach your kids to sort of take ownership a little bit, little by little, and it's like kind of training for them and training for you, because you shouldn't be doing everything for them for their entire lives.
And this clock is a good way to do that.
This clock is great. So you buy an inexpensive clock, and all you got to do is take a marker and sort of mark up what each hour should be designated for. So maybe they get home at 3. 3 to 4 is wind down and snack time. And then maybe 4 to 5 is homework time. And then maybe 5 to 6, I don't know, depending on their age, is bath time, or maybe they'll help you prep dinner or whatever it is.
I love that.
So this takes all the guesswork. I mean, you kind of want that for yourself too.
Yes, I know. It's like, it's playtime.
Oh, it's doom scrolling time for mom.
Yes.
No, we're not going to do that.
Haven't done Wordle today, so I better hop on that. These are such great tips, Lauren. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to kind of do all this in my house. I've got 2 kids off to school.
Just pick and choose. Remember, not everything's for everybody, and we don't want everyone to feel like you have to have everything clamped down, but it's just to put you in a good position for success in fall.
I love that. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, it is time to tackle your back-to-school shopping list with strategies to save on some of the hottest gear of the season. Stay with us.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive.
Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate it.
top story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
We all know back-to-school shopping can be stressful, and it certainly can be expensive. According to the National Retail Federation, a whopping $37 billion will be spent on back-to-school shopping this year, which breaks down to $864 per household. So, what essentials do kids actually need, and most importantly, which ones are worth your hard-earned money? Well, there's no one better to break down what to buy than Grace Bastidas, editor-in-chief of Parents. Hello, Grace. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, too.
All right, we've got all age groups covered here. So let's start, obviously, with the elementary, kindergarten age group here, where lunch boxes and lunch bags are so important.
Yes, lunch boxes. So this one's from Land's End, and it's leak resistant and insulated to keep food cool for up to 5 hours. It's also thick and sturdy, so it protects sandwiches from getting squished, which no one wants to eat, right? And my favorite feature is it has a little compartment on the bottom that fits a water bottle, snacks, or whatever little extra you want to toss in there.
So it has the compartments, which hopefully will keep your kids' lunch organized too.
Yes, exactly.
And this comes in all different colors, I'm assuming.
All colors, whatever patterns your kid wants.
Okay, great. So naturally, going with the whole lunch bag theme, the water bottle is so important. Why do you like this one?
This is a stainless steel thermos Fontainer, and it's also vacuum insulated to keep drinks cold for 12 hours.
Okay.
And it comes in fun patterns that kids love, and it has a really cute little grip handle that's perfect for little hands to carry throughout the day and keep hydrated. And if your kid drops it, don't worry, it's built to withstand dings.
Okay, so it's even okay to put milk in here because it keeps it cold.
Yes, exactly.
All right, perfect. Okay, now for the next age group, let's talk about backpacks. And, you know, I think it's time everybody gets a new fresh one.
Yes, so this is from JanSport, and I had a JanSport backpack as a kid. And for good reason, right? Because it has a lifetime warranty.
That still exists?
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So if it rips or the zipper breaks, send it back and they'll repair it or send you a new one. And this one is lightweight and fits all the essentials.
It's great because the books can weigh it down, certainly.
Exactly.
So it's nice when the bag doesn't weigh a lot, and it's such a nice pattern too. Okay, so for high schoolers, let's talk about some tech. You have some more expensive and then some more reasonably priced options.
Yes, we have headphones. So my children have this. This is wireless and noise canceling from Puro Quiet, and it has a long-lasting battery life, and it's equipped with limited volume to protect young ears, and it costs $129. Now, if you're on a tighter budget, these from J Buddies Pro cost $35, have Bluetooth technology, and also volume regulators so that your kids can jam safely.
And they're also wireless?
Yes.
Okay, because I feel like nobody wears wires anymore. So.
No, you want to move around, dance.
So when you have, you know, all kinds of different technology, the iPads, the phones, everything else, it's nice to keep that all organized with the charging station.
Yes, so this is the charging station. It's from Great Useful Stuff, and it turns any surface into a workspace. And it also charges 5 devices simultaneously.
Oh, wow.
And keeps unsightly cords hidden away.
Okay, so when it looks nice, you're more likely to use it, which I always notice. Okay, so for college kids going off to school, there are some appliances you can keep in your dorm room. What do you recommend?
I recommend this Hamilton Beach tea kettle. It's convenient, versatile, and it boils water in a flash. So if your college kid wants to fuel up before class with a cup of coffee, tea, or even a speedy meal, ramen, oatmeal, pasta, whatever, this will do the job. And the best part is that it turns off when it reaches a boil. So that should give you a little peace of mind, which all parents want.
Yes, because you're not always thinking in college about, did I turn that off? I'm not quite sure. A lot of folks going back to school, you know, in the end of the summer, it's the end of August, and it gets really hot. So what do you recommend to keep cool?
And dorm rooms can get hot and stuffy. So packing a fan is actually key. This one is from Dreo. It's a standing fan. It's slim, it's sleek, could be tucked away in even the smallest closet. And your college freshmen will appreciate that it's super quiet, it won't disturb if they're studying or napping.
Right, because in college, any distraction can happen at any time, so it's nice to keep the quiet with the fan, too. Grace, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
This was wonderful and so helpful, so happy shopping for everyone. All right, coming up, join me in the kitchen as my son Cal and I take on a yummy lunch recipe. We'll be right back.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Yamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Today Goes Back to School. We end our show today with a visit to my own kitchen. My son Cal and I whipped up a recipe from one of my favorites on Instagram, Amy Palangian, also known as Yummy Toddler Food. She also has a book called Food Play, which teaches preschoolers how to have fun making their own food in the kitchen. I always make her green pancakes for my boys. They absolutely love it, and I love to sneak some veggies into their meals. Take a look. It's another edition of Cooking with Cal. What are we making today?
Green pancakes.
With
yogurt.
I follow @Yummy Toddler Food on Instagram, and Amy posts these amazing, easy, delicious, healthy recipes for kids. So this actually happens to be a favorite, right? Here we go. Can you peel a banana? Do you know how to peel a banana? Can you peel one?
Yeah. Where is it? This?
Yeah. Oh, nice.
that
Okay.
was nice.
Now peel it.
This?
Yep. Pull it down. Whoa! You can peel your own banana and put it in the blender. Nice.
That's my first time doing it actually.
That's your first time peeling a banana?
You asked me.
Good job. High five, Ollie. We're going to add flaxseed. Okay, here. Kevin, can you add cinnamon? Perfect. Do you remember how to crack eggs?
Uh-huh.
It's been a while.
Swirly, swirly. Teaspoon? Put a teaspoon.
Get it all in there. 1 cup of milk.
Stop. No, stop.
I just have a little milk left. That's it. Okay.
It's
perfect.
higher than me.
That's okay.
Terrible. So green.
Okay. Do you want to try the spinach?
Yeah.
This is why we put spinach in the pancakes, because I can't get you to eat it otherwise. Okay, put it on the blender. Or on the machine, whatever it is. Ollie, flip that up. Good job. Let's plug in the griddle. This is gonna get super duper hot, okay? Some whole wheat flour. See how this is super healthy?
All of it? Now can I make some?
Careful.
Yeah.
Get underneath it and commit to the flip. Yes! That's okay. Good?
That's pretty good.
Okay.
Am I your helper, chef?
You're my sous chef. You're always my sous chef. Press. Put all your strength into your arms and squeeze it down. That looks good, right?
Keep going, buddy. Take this bite, Mommy?
Yes.
Stop.
Yes. Do you like it? For these recipes and more, head to today.com/food. And it's healthy too if you want to sneak a bite for yourself. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Here's to a happy and healthy new school year. And remember, you've got this.
Just call when you need them most. Ooh, let it go. The Today Show's newest fan. This is the moment.
Little Al Roker.
What am I doing here? This is your moment. Your moment.
What's up? Freaking freezing.
Did you call for this weather? Because I'm a little chilly.
I did not. I called for this view, though.
This is insane. When was the last time you were back here?
My goodness. It's been like 5 or 6 years for sure.
Could you enjoy it back then, or were you just going from interview to interview?
Yeah, I've never been to New York just for fun. I've never come here just to like chill. I've never had an off day in New York. So
What the heck are you going to do this trip?
I
Because your
don't know.
fiance's never been to New York ever.
She's literally never been, so I have no idea. I need somebody to tell us what to do because I'm just like, wow, this is incredible.
Just to recap, that's called Times Square.
Okay, I've heard of it.
I can get you a map. We can hit the subway.
Okay.
Empire State Building. Do you have bucket list items?
Those all sound good to me.
I got you, bro. All right, let's go downstairs because you're going to give me a big time exclusive.
Let's do it.
You ready for this?
I don't know.
30 minutes. Sit down.
Oh.
Don't let me down.
I'm nervous.
Well, I want to start out by saying thank you, buddy. Taylor's like a little brother to me. He's one of my best friends. You haven't done an interview like this in, what are we saying, 5 years?
Yeah, 5, 6 years probably.
You and I have had some really good conversations about what you experienced when you were 16 years old, when things really started getting crazy for you fame-wise, but you've never talked about it publicly. So before we even get started on that, thank you for your vulnerability. I think it's going to help a lot of people. I know it's not necessarily easy to talk about, but it's important to talk about it. And when I think about the most famous movie franchise I've ever covered, I think about Twilight. I think about the fans who waited 4, 5, 6 days before premiere. I've never seen that in my life. I think about paparazzi following you around everywhere you went.
Yeah.
The stories you've shared with me are insane, and I'm just curious what that did for you emotionally, how that affected you now that you've had years to process it.
When it first started, when I was 16 years old, and I booked this role in this franchise, which none of us knew exactly what it was going to be. I didn't know what I was signing up for. I was just trying to, do what I love to do, and make this role come to life. But I didn't realize what was ahead of me, and it's fame's. I was thinking about this last night. Fame is it's a weird and dangerous thing because not many things in life can come and happen overnight. Fame can, and the another thing that's crazy about it is it also can disappear overnight, which is the dangerous part, because when it was happening, when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, waking up and trying to just go out for a walk or, you know, go on a date, and, you know, I have 12 cars waiting outside my house to follow me wherever I'm going, or, you know, when you show up to an airport or anywhere and you have thousands of fans screaming. In the moment, it's like, it got frustrating because you just wanted to live a normal life. But then when that's taken away from you at all, you start to question yourself and start to be like, oh, do people not care about me anymore? And you don't realize how it affects you in the moment. But when it goes away a little bit, you notice it, and that's the dangerous part, because that can really mess with your mind.
What do you think the hardest part was for you? Was there a specific moment you look back on? Was it multiple stories? I mean, you've shared that you landed in many places around the world and there were security breaches. One time you had to stay inside your hotel room for 24 hours because fans, thousands of them, broke the stanchions, got in the hotel, and were banging on every door trying to find you. Yeah. That's not normal when you're a teenager.
Yeah, I have a lot of those stories, and we all experienced those stories. It's not normal, and you know, when you're in it, it's kind of exciting, it's kind of weird, and I just think I was so young, I didn't know how to process it. I mean, back in the day, people used to ask me, like, you know, how does it feel? I'm like, I don't know how it felt. Like, it was just a whirlwind. And looking back at it now, like, I wouldn't choose willingly to go through that again.
Wow.
I want to do what I love, but if I had the choice to do it without all that, I think I would.
Do you regret any of the work that you did because of the fame that it brought you? Would you do it all over again? Was the fame worth it?
Yeah, if you would have asked me that question 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said, yeah. I don't regret it, but maybe I wish that I didn't go through it. But if you ask me now, I say no. I'm happy that I went through it because of you know, what it's taught me. It's taught me a lot, and it's made me who I am right now. And who I am right now, I'm happy with, you know. Setbacks and struggles and roadblocks in life, they're important. They're important for people because, you know, it teaches you things and it makes you who you are today. So no, for that I'm thankful.
You love the man you are now. You're preaching, man. I remember, it's funny because as you said that, I remember meeting Rob Pattinson for the first time, and he came by the studio before Twilight came out. They had already shot it.
Yeah.
And I said to him, do you realize that this is going to change everything for you?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm just a guy that has Hot Pockets and Pop-Tarts and soda in my refrigerator. That's all I have.
Yeah.
I'm a bachelor, and I think I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
And then boom, a week passes, the movie comes out, a month, and it was insane fame. That's how fast it really happened for you guys, right?
Yeah. We definitely did not see it coming. And we had people that tried to warn us. We had people like you saying, you know, this thing's going to be big. And we're like, yeah, I guess so. That's what they're saying. But we had no idea. There's no rule book or, you know, playbook for, you know, what we went through and how to cope with it. So it kind of was just a figure it out as you go thing.
Yeah. You told me that you didn't go to a grocery store, movie theater, mall for 10 years. Which shocked me. I mean, that's something you don't hear a lot about. Those are pretty normal places that we all go to.
Yeah.
When you went back for the first time to, say, the grocery store.
Yeah.
I know you love the grocery store now, by the way. You go like 5 times a week. But do you remember that feeling? Were you looking around? Did you overthink it?
Yeah, it felt like freedom. I went so many years just either not leaving my house, or if I did, you know, hat, sunglasses, you know, and just like scared. It built up something inside of me where even if I didn't know it, but I was scared to go out. I'd get, you know, super anxious to go out. So I just didn't. I didn't go to a grocery store or a movie theater or a mall or, you know, any of those places for a number of years. And yeah, now, as you know, a grocery store is my favorite place on the planet. I go into a grocery store and I literally will spend an hour and a half there. Because
Just
I just wanna
high-fiving
go
people.
making friends with the cashiers.
Yeah.
Yeah, just going up and down every aisle, looking at everything. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It makes me feel free. And it's just stuff like that, as simple as it is, that I didn't have in my life, that it just makes me realize how wonderful and special life is.
You lived with your parents, you isolated for a bit, you took time away from Hollywood, you're back, you've got a new movie coming out. Do you feel like this was the time that you needed to process, recover, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah.
Are you there yet? Are you still trying to figure out if you're there yet?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was needed. It was needed for me personally. So I, as Taylor, feel so much better today than I have in the last 4 or 5 years, call it. I don't know. The truth is, if I'm being honest with you, you're one of my best friends. I don't know if I'm like there and ready. I'm just gonna take it one day at a time. But I feel good and I feel happy. I just feel strong moving forward. So we'll see.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months.
Exactly.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
We got to talk about Home Team, man, because when you told me about this role, I was so happy for you. I immediately thought this was perfect for you.
Yeah.
Can you give everybody a little premise, what it's about, and how you fit into the mix there?
Yeah, it's a crazy story. It's the true story about Sean Payton, the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. When he was suspended back in 2012 from Bountygate, and the story of what he did during that year, during his year off. And he ended up going back to his small town in Texas he was from, helping coach his 12-year-old son's Pee Wee football team, and brought them to the state championship game. So it's a pretty cool story. One of the more incredible ones that not many people know.
You're the Pee Wee coach.
I am Connor, his 12-year-old son's Pee Wee football coach, who is kind of like a father figure to all of his players, and especially Connor, who hasn't had his dad in his life for a bit. So when Sean shows up, I ask him to help coach the team with me to really, help out with the team, but really help reignite their father-son relationship.
Coach Payton is going to be our new offensive coordinator.
Our defense sucks too.
Dennis just fall down.
Yeah, he doesn't like contact.
You know he's playing football?
I say it was a great fit for you because you love football. You're a massive Saints fan. You know Coach Payton. Little tidbit here, I don't know if many people know this, but Coach's daughter was a massive Twilight fan. So you guys have this relationship, and next thing you know, you're on the field, you're wearing the gear, and now you're in a movie about his life. What's the full circle moment, if you can kind of sum it up in a couple minutes?
The summary is, when I was filming the final 2 Twilight movies, we filmed them in Baton Rouge. Sean reached out to my agent and said, hey, does Taylor want to come to a football game? I know he's a football fan. And I was like, yes. And I came. He treated me like royalty, gave me the headphones. I stood on the sideline the whole game, watching the game, listening to him call the plays between him and Drew Brees. He was way, way, way too nice to me. And then we just, started being friends. I came back for other home games. And for a diehard football fan, that was like, I don't think heaven gets much better than this. But then a few years later, I was filming Ridiculous 6 in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and he reached out, and him and his daughter Megan do a father-daughter trip each year. And he was like, hey man, want to come visit in LA for a father-daughter trip? And I was like, I'm actually in Santa Fe filming a movie, but you could stop by here on the way. And he's like, you know what, screw it. We'll just do our father-daughter trip in Santa Fe. So they did a week in Santa Fe, visited the set of Ridiculous 6, and it was there that Megan met Chris Titone, who is Adam Sandler's brother-in-law, and they started dating on the spot, been together ever since. That's been 6-7 years, and Chris wrote this movie about her father, Sean. So it's a really full circle story of, my relationship with Sean, my relationship with Sandler, Megan and Chris getting together, and then this being a Happy Madison production and a story about a friend of mine. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so Sandler produces it, and when I think about Adam, I think about a guy who was so good to his friends, so inclusive of his family. Yeah. Was that the vibe on set that you got from him? I mean, what kind of environment is it when Adam Sandler's in charge?
It's the best because it's family, it's summer camp. It doesn't feel like work is the best way to describe it. He surrounds himself with amazing human beings. It just feels like you're home when you're on set.
You wrap for the day, you have a choice between, I'm going to hang out with Kevin James or Rob Schneider. I mean, all these legends that you get to surround yourself with when you're working with Adam. There's got to be a lot of perks when Kevin James is someone you're starring opposite. That's a dream role I would take.
Gentlemen, I've been perfecting my recipe for the ultimate energy bar.
Super long!
Yeah, especially in a comedy where, like, I don't feel like I can go, toe-to-toe with Kevin James or Rob Schneider, like all these comedy legends.
Little nerve-wracking?
Yeah, to say the least. But he doesn't, or he makes me feel like I can, because he's just such a sweet human being, and it's just, you feel so comfortable with him. Kevin is just a delightful human, and I would work with him for the rest of my career if I could.
I think Home Team's going to be easily #1 on Netflix, and I think the timing is also interesting because Coach Payton has stepped down. That was big news in Saints world, especially Hoda Kotb, who is a massive Saints fan. Quick comment about Coach stepping down after, 15 years with the Saints?
Yeah, 15, 16. Massive, it's so sad. I'm excited for him personally. So I'll definitely be reaching out to him soon to, congratulate him on, what he did for that city, not just the team, but for that city. But yeah, it's tough to see him go, but I'm excited for him.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one?
You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months.
Exactly.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
What do you love about fatherhood?
The chaos, the learning.
Is climate change one of your top priorities?
What's your message to girls who want to make a difference in their own communities?
Believe in yourself.
What do you love about fatherhood?
The chaos, the learning.
Is climate change one of your top priorities?
What's your message to girls who want to make a difference in their own communities?
Believe in yourself.
Weekdays, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
And what do you love about fatherhood?
The chaos, the learning.
Is climate change one of your top priorities?
What's your message to girls who want to make a difference in their own communities?
Believe in yourself.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
You may not want to talk about this, but you definitely trimmed up for this role. What did you do to get in shape for this?
Yeah, just dialed in the eating, like a lot of us, 2020 just got away and I put on a few pounds and I just, it more so was a mental thing. Like I just wasn't feeling good.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, I need to get back in, a good mental headspace before I go back to work and film this movie. So yeah, it was, getting in shape, but really more so getting this in shape.
Sure. I think sometimes we kind of fall into this trap if we're a fan of any celebrity because we think about someone as, hey, we think of Taylor Lautner. He's the guy from Twilight. He has these washboard abs. That was when you were 16, 17, 18 years old. You're now almost 30 years old. Do you feel a pressure to kind of keep that washboard look?
Hey, beautiful.
Or is that something that you say, that's the past, this is where I'm at now, and live with it?
Well, that's where I've gotten to. I did feel a lot of that pressure because it is tough when you're, 17, 18 years old, and it's a lot easier to look like that than when you're 30.
You can eat anything you want.
Yeah, I had to. Like, for me to look like that when I was 17, I had to consume 5,000 calories a day. Can't do that now. So yeah, for a while, it was an enormous amount of pressure to maintain that, and I think it just got to me, and I sort of rebelled against it. Like, I went years not entering a gym because I was just so turned off by it because that was so much of my life. And then it took getting to a place where it's like, hey, it's okay not to look perfect.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not what perfect is. So it took a sec to feel comfortable in my own skin, and I feel like I'm back there now.
You're back. Now you have that healthy relationship with the gym, healthy relationship with, okay, what I'm going to consume and eat, and then, like you said, it all goes back up here. And it helps me a lot too, just being around that. It's great to have that accountability. So I want to say thank you to Trainer Rye, who's helped us out so much. But there have been some people that have accused you recently of putting thirst trap photos. And when I say accused, in people, I'm talking about myself. You did something not too long ago on your Insta story, my boy. You did a bit of a thirst trap, as the kids say. Can you tell me what was behind that?
Well, if I'm being honest, I looked at myself in the mirror, and for the first time in years, I was like, dang, it's not too bad.
Let's go, baby.
So, I was working out shirtless, and I figured I might as well document this.
Did anybody give you a hard time, or was it just me?
No, that was just you.
What about the DMs? A lot of fans happy about that?
Yeah, the DMs were blowing up a little more than usual, but it felt good. It feels good to be back a little bit.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one?
You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months.
Exactly.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
You said something earlier that was, I couldn't just brush by it. You said fame can come quickly, like that, and then go away quickly. I think it's so interesting, especially now, this TikTok generation, social media generation. It can come, and that could be what everybody wants. Is it safe to say now that fame doesn't bring you happiness?
That's very safe to say. You can't rely on it. But, if I was speaking to anybody, going through that or starting to, I would just stay grounded. Remember where you came from. Keep your friends and family close. And, you can't rely on fame because it definitely does not bring you, happiness. It can bring you temporary happiness, but there's things in life that are a lot more important.
You have great friends, family around you. You have a great fiance around you. Fiance, does that even sound real when I'm saying that right now? You are engaged. Her name is Taylor. When you get married, her name will be Taylor Lautner. That became like a thing on social media. It needs to be addressed. A little pretentious, man.
It's a little narcissistic.
Just a tidbit. But it's been an honor to watch you guys walk together. She is the greatest of the great. Why is she your person? She's also 5 feet away, so you better be careful.
She's someone I strive to be. She's the best person I know. She's gentle and caring and just a really special person. And I feel super, super blessed to have her in my life. She was a large part of getting me back, to where I am today. Huge.
Stop it. I'm good. She's the best, I promise. It's just, it's cool to see it up close.
And she holds me accountable. That's another thing. That's another great thing about her. Is she doesn't let me get away with anything. She don't put up with my BS. She holds me accountable. She's like, Taylor, put the toilet paper roll in the trash. Don't take it off and put it on the ground and put the new one there.
It's good for you. You need
don't
that.
Leave the dishes right there. Like, just teaching me things that I need to know.
The engagement night was so cool. I'll never forget sharing that big friend hug with you. Can you put some words to that night? How you were feeling and what it meant?
It was the biggest night of my life. It was the biggest moment of my life. That moment is going to be who I am, who we are for the rest of our lives. And I know, if I have her, everything's going to be okay. And I have a lot of people like that in my life now that I'm so thankful for, you being one of them. It was a wonderful, magical night. I was so nervous. But
it's normal.
It went perfectly. I couldn't have wished for anything more. It was a beautiful night, and I'm really looking forward to this next chapter.
It is incredibly important to point out that Taylor is a massive Twilight fan. Is it safe to say that fans can marry a movie star? Normally it's this fantasy, I could never spend the rest of my life with fill in the blank. That's what happened here.
It is safe to say, but I'm going to call her out here. She was not Team Jacob. So she is marrying the other team.
Which team was she on?
Oh, she was Team Edward all the way.
She was a Robbie Pats fan?
Oh, yeah.
This is unbelievable. Breaking news. I don't even know if I knew that.
She was diehard Team Edward. But, I've converted her.
Do we know if she slid into Rob's DMs? You might need to talk to your boy.
I should probably. Thankfully, he doesn't have an Instagram.
Oh, yeah, good point.
I know that.
Before we go, you got a big milestone coming up. The big 3-0.
Do.
This is a birthday you can't just brush by.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts about turning 30? Do you feel 30?
Yeah, I do. And honestly, people ask me all the time. They're like, you nervous about it? Like, how do you feel? And to be honest, I feel real good. I feel like my 30s are going to be good years. I feel like I have gotten to a place in my life that I feel super happy with, and I feel like I am entering my 30s at the perfect time. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well said, my boy. You're going to be going to the wine country.
Oh yeah.
We'll be there with you. Yeah. Do you have anything planned beyond that, or is that something that Girl Tay is going to handle?
Nothing planned beyond that. You know, we'll celebrate my birthday, and then hers is right after, and then we'll probably get into, you know, thinking wedding. We haven't talked about it too much yet.
I didn't even ask about the wedding, and you're going there.
I thought that's what you were implying.
No, I was simply saying what's going to happen in Napa Valley. Drink some wine, have some food. Guys talking about the wedding already. I am all ears.
Oh, we can go back to wine
No,
talking.
I want to know about the wedding.
No, there is no plans. We're really just we're taking the time to soak this moment and this feeling in because it feels so good. And we're just so excited. But yeah, soon we'll start to think and talk about that.
I love it. I love you, bro. Thank you so much.
I love you.
This means a lot.
And thank you for making me feel comfortable enough to talk about it, because it's important to talk about it. It's important, and that I didn't do that for so long. I just kept it all inside and didn't speak to really anyone about it, and that's it's super important too. And you were a huge part of getting that out and getting through that.
I love you, man. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot. I think it's important to talk about our feelings.
Absolutely.
And now you're encouraging me and so many other people out there. So I love you to pieces.
Love you.
Thanks,
you.
brother.
Hi there, all of you watching Today All Day. We've got a great Pop Star Plus coming up for you. Coming up, the hilarious and super talented Amber Ruffin joins our What I Watch series, sharing the show that perfectly depicts her childhood. Plus, on the way in our My Pet Tale, our friend Judy Greer tells us about her great love for her dog. And then later, we're diving into some beloved shows, Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Gilmore Girls, so fans get ready. All of that is just ahead, but first, let's see what we have up on Pop Star Plus. Amber Ruffin joined us for our What I Watch series. The comedian and actor who hosts her own talk show, The Amber Ruffin Show, it's very funny, was kind enough to tell us all about the long list of shows that she cannot stop watching.
What I watch when I can't fall asleep is not a good question for me. I can always fall asleep. TV cannot help me. I'm great at sleeping. If America was in the Olympics for sleeping, I would represent our country and I would bring home the gold. I'm good at sleeping. What I watch when it's late at night, I like to watch every late night show. Every late night show there's ever been, I love to watch it. I love to watch the old late night shows. I love to watch it now. Only because when I was watching it, I never thought I would have a late night show. But when you have one and you watch it, it's different.
That was great. You know what else is great? Finally making this show for you all.
When I was preparing for this season of The Amber Ruffin Show, I watched, I watched some Carol Burnett. I did. I watched some Dick Cavett. I watched some of those old, variety shows. And it was very clear how little you needed. It was people goofing around. And I was like, oh, what a relief. Like those cool things we remember. We're just people goofing around. And that's a torch I'm willing to carry to this day. What do I watch? I like to, when it's late, I do like to catch up. So when I'm catching up on my favorite shows. And my favorite shows are Queens. I watched every last episode in real time. And I can't just be allotting time from 8 to 9 at night. I still have work to do. And then Abbott Elementary.
Hey, yo! What it do, baby boos? What y'all think about this little film crew I brought in here?
Distracting, makes our jobs harder.
But exciting. We about to be on TV.
Because they are covering underfunded, poorly managed public schools in America.
No press is bad press, Barb. Look at Mel Gibson. Still thriving.
Abbott Elementary is great. It is just very character-driven. But I do think that Abbott Elementary found some very fun characters and leaned into them. And even though they're big characters, you haven't seen them before. They found a new take on the bully and a new take on the nerd. Like, it's all so fresh. It's great. And Quinta is the best. What I watch when I need comfort food is the same thing everyone watches when they need comfort food, and that's Ted Lasso. It's the most comforting show on planet Earth. It's just as good as everybody says, but the people who love Ted Lasso might not know that they also love Joe Pera's show, Joe Pera Talks With You. It is this very gentle comedian, and he just is living in, I think, Wisconsin, and, being his gentle self and, whittling wood and stuff. And along those same lines, John Wilson, How To with John Wilson, is also a very comforting show where, not a lot happens, but it stays interesting, and then afterwards you feel a little happier. Those are the 3 shows. What I watch that might surprise people is, it shouldn't, but it always does, is Grey's Anatomy. Man, I've been watching Grey's Anatomy since the very beginning. It probably started, I don't know, at this point, 12, 18 years ago. It's a million years old. What I watch that reminds me of my childhood, I don't have an answer to this question. But what I don't watch that reminds me of my childhood is Pen 15. Pen 15 is that show about those 2 very nerdy nerds going through high school or junior high, but it was so exactly what it was like to be made fun of in school that it was, and I was made fun of like no one's business. I just couldn't watch it.
There were these boys in our grade who were not kind to...
Look, I need you to beat them up,
Yeah.
Suji. Like, it just needs to happen.
Why should I?
See, like I told you, he wouldn't care. This is literally like the worst day of my life, and he'll probably call me you just too.
I tried. I tried, and it was hilarious, but it just felt, it was too soon. It's too soon. It's too terrible. Too accurate a depiction. Could not watch it. Never will. Great show. I'll never see it. What I watch that I'm obsessed with right now, The Eyes of Tammy Faye. That was so good. I mean, also, I remember each one of those moments, but it was great. And then I kept forgetting that it was Jessica Chastain. She did such a good job. And Andrew Garfield, I was like, how are they doing this? It was a great movie. The Eyes of Tammy Faye. When I want to laugh, I guess I watch Saturday Night Live. A huge Saturday Night Live guy. Times a million, I love it. I've always loved it. And I'm not one of those freaking turds who's like, it used to be. SNL is good today. It was good yesterday. It was good when I was 8. It'll be good in 8 more years. It'll always be good. SNL is always good.
Oh, I love Amber. So interesting, too, to hear about the late night shows that Amber loved before landing her own. All right, thanks to Amber for swinging by and hanging with us. We appreciate it. Coming up next, Judy Greer opens up about her dog, Mary, and how Mary's changed her life.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive.
Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate
it. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate
it. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
And welcome back to Popstar Plus. In our My Pet Tale series, we ask folks course, about their pets and how the pets that they've had have shaped their lives. Well, Judy Greer has a beloved dog named Mary, and we even learned just how much Mary helps Judy when she feels homesick.
My little furry creature, her name is Mary Richards, named after the title Mary Tyler Moore's character from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. I'm too young to remember it being on television, but I watched it, I guess I saw it, probably on like TV Land or one of the cable channels in some hotel room when I was on location working and feeling homesick, and it made me so happy. And I ordered all seasons on DVD, and I used to travel with them so that I could watch them on my laptop when I was traveling for work because it was so comforting to me. I also really responded to the Mary Richards character because it was pretty groundbreaking when you think about it. I mean, this was a woman who broke up with her fiance, moved to the big city, Minneapolis, Minnesota, in order to pursue a career in broadcasting, which again, at the time was very unheard of. Well, I had the most incredible male dog. His name was Buckley, and I had him for years, and he was my love and my roommate and my best friend. And, like all animals, unfortunately, he had to go live on the Forever Farm with his mom. And about a year went by after Buckley left us, and my vet, Dr. Werber, who I loved, called me one day and was like, hey, I think it's time. And I was like, it's not time. And he said, I work with a rescue. They need a foster over Thanksgiving for this little dog. Would you just foster her? And so that's when I picked up Mary, and she basically curled up in a ball and just I carried her around in a tote bag for 2 weeks. And then it was the day before the adoption where I was supposed to take her, and then all the people come, and I just lost my mind. And I called my husband, and I'm like, I can't get rid of her. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm about to shoot a live show. Fine, we can keep her. Please don't bother me at work anymore. So my timing was really good. But there was really something so special about having this little creature with me that did, I think, lower my blood pressure a lot. And I can't think of an exact moment in time when I knew she was staying with us, but it just felt like, oh, this is a good thing for me. I feel like I shouldn't have to tell people why it's so important to adopt instead of shop. I mean, there's just so many animals that need homes, and there's even now so many breed specific rescues that if you're like, well, I have to have this kind of breed of dog, or I need it, hypoallergenic or whatever, you can find that. There's just so many animals that are needlessly euthanized, every day, that could easily be adopted into homes. And I think that, fostering is such a great way to see how a pet's going to work in your family. You can find such great animals, and they're so happy to have a home and to not have to live in those cages. And Mary's this tiny little cute, teddy bear, sort of fox raccoon looking dog, but she's really scary if she wants to be. So that took some getting used to and a lot of training, and she has chilled out a lot. She's really feeling self-confident. She's really feeling herself these days. I started traveling with her when I go on location to shoot things, and I brought her with me to New Orleans to shoot the thing about Pam, and she won over everyone on set. And in fact, Renee Zellweger's character, Pam Hupp, has a dog, and I can't tell you how many of my friends texted me after that first episode aired, and they were like, is Mary in the thing about Pam? No, there is only room for one actress in this family. But Mary was there, and she was running around, and she was such a cutie. Sometimes when she's a little judgmental and mean, I like to think that she's my alter ego. My favorite thing with Mary, I love going on really long walks, and Mary really loves to go on long walks. We've walked 7 miles in one day together. She'll just walk and walk and walk. I think she would walk until she would drop. The thing about Mary that's funny, the thing about Pam, I just realized I said that. But the thing about Mary that's funny is that she plays really hard to get, but she's so tiny and cute that people keep they just keep wanting more of her. They keep wanting her. If she lets you pet her once, then you just want to keep petting her, but the next day she might be I don't really I'm not feeling you today. She really does march to the beat of her own drummer, and she's not someone that can be pinned down, she might like you one day, but then she might not like you ever again. Every day is a new day with Mary. That's what I always tell people. Mary has made my life better in every single way. I used to get so homesick when I was on location, and now, like, when I have her with me, it's so much better. She's gives me a reason to get up in the morning, and like on a day off, and sometimes I'm like, I miss my husband and I'm homesick. She, like, I think genuinely brings a lot of joy to work. Like, she runs all around hair and makeup when we're in the trailer, and she loves it, and everyone brings treats and gives them to her, and animals bring a lot of joy, and they definitely like calm people down, I think. And so yeah, she's just made my life better in every single way. Minus the dog hair, but she's little and it's not that bad. But I do usually have a lint roller with me.
Thanks to Judy for sharing her great pet love. Coming up next, Melissa Joan Hart reminisces over Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Today. We've got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
What do you love about fatherhood?
The chaos, the learning.
Is climate change one of your top priorities?
What's your message to girls who want to make a difference in their own communities?
Believe in yourself.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No, do you remember any tornado as bad as this one?
You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months.
Exactly.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Yamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
What do you love about fatherhood?
The chaos, the learning.
Is climate change one of your top priorities?
What's your message to girls who want to make a difference in their own communities?
Believe in yourself.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
And welcome back. Melissa Joan Hart was only 20 years old when she landed the role of Sabrina in the Sabrina the Teenage Witch show. And she sat down with us for our flashback series and shared what it was like to work on the 90s sitcom.
I guess I would describe Sabrina as sort of quintessential teen girl, doesn't want to draw too much attention to herself, but happens to wake up one morning with magical powers and has to deal.
Wait. Don't come in here again. From now on, you use the freak's bathroom.
I was 20 when I started it, and I actually created it. It was an Archie comic, and my mom found the Archie comic book on a playground, and she sold it to Viacom as a TV movie. And then my mom kept saying to Viacom, this would be a great series. And they were like, okay, we'll see. And she kept saying, no, it'd be a great series. Like, all right. And she was like, this would be a great series. And they cut it together. She cut it together into a trailer and gave it to the network. And they were like, oh, this is a great idea for a series. She's like, yes, I know. So the series came together that way. So I never had to audition. It was my part created for me by my mother. The best part about playing her, so any actor, you know, we like to be actors because we like to kind of slip into lots of different skins and pretend to be lots of different people. And so having a series on the air for 7 years for a lot of actors can be kind of tiresome because you play the same character for so long. You want to stretch out a little more. You want to do a little more. But with Sabrina, it was great because I got to be everybody plus Sabrina. I got to be Cyrano. I got to be a trapeze artist. I got to be Cinderella. I got to be Rapunzel. I loved when she would take on some kind of personality or some other wardrobe, or I was a snowman. I skied on Mars, or, so stuff like that. So that made it really exciting and different. And the actor in me loved that part.
We'll see how they like it when they don't have somebody to enforce the law. I swear, the first person I run into.
Aunt Zelda?
Congratulations. You're the new sheriff.
With Sabrina, I was definitely acting because I was definitely playing against my type. I was never the wallflower. I was always the one doing a dance performance in the middle of the room, or, and here's Sabrina who just wants to be like left alone and quiet and don't let anyone see me. And I'm going to hide over here. And I didn't quite understand that. So for me, it wasn't the most fun, like the things we were talking about before, like the playing the other roles or getting dressed up in fun costumes. That was all really exciting for me. But the actual character herself, I didn't necessarily identify with.
Sabrina, you usually have good ideas. What sort of a fundraiser would you suggest? Pancakes!
My favorite episode when we were filming it, and still to this day, I think, is probably the pancake episode. I think because it was probably my first time doing physical comedy, and I really loved it. I was like diving in trash cans and just playing like an addict like that, like just being like, I need a pancake, and like it was something I could really, here's a nice pun, but bite my teeth into. Like I could sink my teeth into like that character, and the fun that I was having playing like a strung out teenager in a kid's sitcom. It was really fun to play. Like, I know a lot of people get excited that Britney was on the show, or NSYNC, or Backstreet Boys, but I was always thrilled, and I requested, as the executive producer, I could do that, people like the Violent Femmes, Blondie, Johnny Mathis for a Christmas episode, who doesn't want to be with Johnny Mathis when he's singing White Christmas? Lonnie Anderson, we had the best time with, or Raquel Welch, I had such a great time with, and all the men on set, of course, were like, oh my gosh, Raquel Welch, and I'm like, I'm getting to act with her for a week, and it was really fun. Getting to go from everything from pop stars to hardcore rock bands to athletes. Brady Anderson, I had a massive crush on. He was on the show. Some of the guys from Baywatch, and all these hot, amazing actors and actresses. And it was just such fun because everybody wanted to come play with us. Everybody wanted to be on a magical show. Everybody's kids watched the show and wanted them on it or something. We had a great chemistry. Everyone was there for the right reasons. Everyone was there knowing that this was a great opportunity. Nobody took it for granted. Everyone rode that roller coaster as long as they could, knowing we're on a network show in the heyday of television, not only making good money, but getting a lot of attention for our work. And that's what every actor dreams of, And so we got to be in everybody's house every Friday night, and people all across the world felt like they knew us. It's been decades of hearing, I grew up with you. I heard Daniel Radcliffe say it, and I've heard all these people say, I grew up with you, and you're like, what? So it's the best compliment, because it just means that they allowed me in their home, and I was there with them. A lot of people, I was there for the hard times. I was there when they were in the hospital. I was there when they were going through depression and felt alone. I was there when they couldn't, not just me, the whole show, and a lot of people identify with Sabrina because of bullying, or because of feeling like an outsider. They might not have magical powers, but they feel like an outsider. And so I think that the show gave so many people hope, somewhere to turn to where they didn't feel alone and lonely. And I think that was like everything,
Thanks to Melissa for chatting with us. Last but not least, up next, Gilmore Girls star Kelly Bishop and her love for Emily Gilmore's combative attitude.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. I appreciate
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. for breaking news in our changing world. Download the NBC News app.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, we're back. Kelly Bishop might be best known for her role on Gilmore Girls as Rory's harsh grandma, Emily, and she was kind enough to reflect on her time on the show with us.
How would I describe Emily Gilmore? I used to say Emily Gilmore is a piece of work. She's no nonsense. She's smart. She's conservative. She has values that are very kind of straight-laced. She's not foolish. She's up with current things, but there's a certain value system that she expects people to live by, particularly her daughter. What was my favorite part about Emily? Well, I liked the clothes. They spent a lot of money on my wardrobe. I liked her attitude. I mean, she was so difficult and demanding and hard to please as far as Lorelai was concerned. And what I really loved about that whole show was Amy Sherman Palladino's writing, because it's some of the best material it's probably the best material I've ever done. And, oh God, amazing. Funny, smart, on top of it, and as everybody knows, really fast. So that was just one of the many favorite things. I love doing that show. Lauren and I, the day we met, it was like, okay, I could do this. And she and I became so close and still are close. She really is like a daughter to me, and I really am kind of like a mother to her. We don't spend a lot of time, you know, talking to each other or texting or anything like that, but whenever we get together, it just clicks right in again. There's just a real love and trust and pleasure. You know, we have the same sense of humor. Yeah, she's great. I'm really crazy about Lauren. My all-time favorite episode, actually the one that tickles me the most because it was so different. There was one where Richard, my husband's mother, who was a very difficult woman, had passed away. And I found, if I recall correctly, I found a letter that she had written to him the night before our wedding, I think, begging him not to marry me.
I know that the timing of this is particularly awkward since you are to be married tomorrow.
No way!
But your happiness is too important to me, so timing be damned.
She wanted Dad to leave you at the altar.
She begged him to leave me at the altar. She begged him in writing, and then she saved the carbon.
And that sort of sent me off. He wasn't there to support me because he was so grieving for his mother. That during that episode, I was drinking. There was even one scene where I was smoking a cigarette. I called it the Tennessee Williams episode for me. Who was that at the door?
It was Jason. Dad needs to sign something.
Uh-huh. I mean, she was just out there. She was so un-Emily. That was great fun. I really had fun doing that one. There were a few episodes that I really liked, but that one was just such a departure. The zingers and the put-downs. Oh, boy. Actually, one of my first ones, one of the reasons I love the pilot script so much, I couldn't believe this pilot script when I got it. It was so funny. And I had no idea who any of these people were or who the writer was, anything like that. It's when Lorelai comes to see her parents in the pilot script, obviously to ask for money for Rory's education. And I opened the door and I said something to the effect of, "Is it Christmas?"
Hi, Mom.
Lorelai! My goodness, this is a surprise. Is it Easter already? Or is it Easter? It was some holiday which was indicative of perfect writing of saying that's how often they saw each other. It was on holidays, Christmas, Easter, whatever it was. And then Richard, my husband's character, comes in sometime later after we've done this scene, and he basically does the same thing with a different holiday.
Hi, Dad.
What is it? Christmas already?
Lorelai was taking a business class at the college today and decided to drop in to see us.
Favorite moments with Ed Herman. I just loved working with him. We really liked each other so much. I know one of my favorite scenes with him was when we did renew our vows, and we danced to the song Bill, and he said, "Today," that was your favorite, your favorite song, and "Today you can call me Bill."
Emily would tease me, saying, if only your name was Bill, then this could be our song. Well, Emily, for tonight, and tonight only, my name is Bill, and this is our song.
That was wonderful. You know, he was such a good actor and very generous, very professional, but just a sweet, good man. Why is it still cooking? First of all, it's very intelligent. I mean, the smarter you are, the more you get it. And it's fast, and so you got to pay attention. You don't have much time to laugh because you got to catch up with what's going on. It's funny. I mean, it really is a funny show. But what I decided was that there's really an innate sweetness about it, which sounds kind of icky, but it's not that. There's a decency about it. And one of the things that when men started watching it, which they weren't inclined to because it was Gilmore Girls and all that sort of thing, is that if you look at the male characters in that show, there's no nasty guy, there's no jerk, there's no misogynist, there's no violence. They're just trying to make their way in the world like all the rest of us. And so what there is basically is an innate decency about these people. They're good people. Some of them are very strange, but they're good. And I heard a wonderful story last year sometime that very often when the troops come back from maneuvers in places like Afghanistan and places that we hear too much about, they very often sit down and watch Gilmore Girls. And I think it's because it's a feel-good place. It's like, this is what America's supposed to be.
Great to revisit memories like that. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks for tuning in to Popstar today. As always, we're so glad you joined us. Come back tomorrow and hang out with us again. Same time, same place. See you then.
Hi there, SGI Spy with my little eye. All of our friends in Today All Day Land.
Oh, we're so happy to have you with us. It's Wednesday, smack dab in the middle of the week. So glad you're here for Today in 30. And you know, if you don't have 4 hours to watch it, fear not, because we have condensed it into this little half hour packed with all the good stuff.
Easy breezy. We're going to start off with our exclusive interview with Liz Cheney, defeated in Wyoming's Republican primary overnight, her reaction to those results, and what she's telling us about her future in politics.
Guys, we are also going to throw a back-to-school supply drive. You're about to meet some really inspiring teachers. They go the extra mile to meet the needs of their students, and we want to help them. We'll let you know how you can support classrooms all across the country.
And Savannah, I got 3 words for you. Kathy Lee Gifford.
Well, she's here?
She's back. Studio 1A. She's got a new project. Of course she does. She's got like 5 new projects.
I literally just got chills. She's here?
She is here. She's got a grandson to talk about her life in Nashville and a lot more. So stick around because it's all coming up on
Today in 30. Well, Congresswoman Cheney is our live guest this morning. This is an exclusive interview. We want to welcome in Congresswoman Liz Cheney, joining us exclusively this morning from Jackson, Wyoming. Congresswoman, good morning to you.
Good morning, Savannah. Good to be with you.
Well, about last night, you lost by approximately 37 points, a greater margin than even polls had predicted. And I'm remembering back to when we had an interview back in May 2021 when you lost your leadership position. I said, they are coming after you. President Trump wants to go to Wyoming and take you on in the primary. And you said, bring it on. Well, they did. And here we are. And you lost. How do you feel about that now? What's your response today?
Well, look, I think, as we've talked about before, I won my primary by 73 percentage points 2 years ago. The path to that same victory would have been very easy. It was clear how that path would go. But that path would have required that I accept, that I embrace, that I perpetuate the big lie. And I've been very clear at every moment since January 6th that there are some things that have got to be above politics. That there's no political office that's more important than the principles that we take an oath to defend. And I believe that Donald Trump continues to pose a very grave threat and risk to our republic. And I think that defeating him is going to require a broad and united front of Republicans, Democrats, and independents. And that's what I intend to be part of.
Back to a moment for your race. We all know the old adage, all politics is local. And in focus groups and interviews with reporters, many Wyoming voters said that you had lost your way. You went Washington, and you were focused too much on Trump and not the issues that they cared about. One poll showed 61% of likely Republican voters there said you weren't focused on Wyoming issues. Was that the issue? Did you have the wrong focus?
No, look, I think I'm very proud of everything that I accomplished, that we accomplished together with the voters of Wyoming over the last nearly 6 years. But it became very clear after Donald Trump attacked the Capitol, sent a mob to attack the Capitol, refused to accept the results of the election, refused to tell his supporters to leave the Capitol when the assault was underway, that this was a threat that we've never faced before. He crossed a line that couldn't be crossed. And as a nation, you don't get the opportunity to debate and discuss any other issue if you simply turn your head away from that kind of a fundamental threat on our republic.
Well, in point of fact, Republican leader Kevin McCarthy did consider this a referendum on your work on January 6th. Former President Trump last night said it was a complete rebuke of that work. And you have said in the past that you thought the voters of Wyoming fundamentally understood how important that fidelity to the Constitution was. Did you get that wrong? Do people see it differently in the Republican Party?
Look, I think what we have seen, not just in Wyoming, but across the country, is that Donald Trump has betrayed Republican voters. He's lied to them. Those who support him have lied to them. And they're using people's patriotism against them. They're preying on people's patriotism. Kevin McCarthy made his decision a few weeks after January 6th, knowing what he knew about Donald Trump's role in the assault on the Capitol, when he went to Mar-a-Lago and said, we're going to welcome him back into the party. To me, that's indefensible. This is a great, special, exceptional nation, and we need leaders who have reverence for our Constitution, who are faithful to our Constitution, and who are going to do what's required to abide by our oath, no matter whether or not it's politically convenient. Kevin McCarthy certainly does not fit that bill. But I know that there are millions and millions of Americans across this country, again, regardless of their party affiliation, who know that there's something more important than partisan politics and who know we all have to stand together if we want to defend this republic.
The former president said last night you're now headed to political oblivion. You said this fight is just beginning. You've even launched a political organization already. So let's just be straight about it. Are you considering running for president yourself?
Well, what I'm going to do, Savannah, is spend the next several months completing my work in Congress, obviously completing my work representing the people of Wyoming. We have a tremendous amount of work left to do on the January 6th committee. And also, though, I'm going to be making sure that people all around this country understand the stakes of what we're facing, understand the extent to which we've now got one major political party, my party, which has really become a cult of personality. And we've got to get this party back to a place where we're embracing the values and the principles on which it was founded, and talking about, fundamental issues of civics, fundamental issues of what does it mean to be a constitutional republic.
But Congresswoman, you didn't answer me yes or no.
It takes
yeah,
to
I know
keep
that
Donald Trump. I will be doing whatever it takes to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office.
Well, I know you didn't say yes or no, and that's fine if you're thinking about it. But are you thinking about it? Are you thinking about running for president?
That's a decision that I'm going to make in the coming months, Savannah. I'm not going to make any announcements here this morning, but it is something that I'm thinking about, and I'll make a decision in the coming months.
Let's go back to the primary season. It's almost over now, and 64% of the Republicans who have won their primaries are election deniers. That is your red line. That is who is coming to Congress if Republicans prevail and get control of Congress. Given that state of affairs, do you think it would be better for the country if Democrats retained control?
I don't think that anybody in any political party should support election deniers. That's true here in Wyoming, and it's true all across the country. It's simply too dangerous to elect somebody as governor who will refuse to certify votes unless it meets their own political preference, to elect people as secretaries of state who will refuse to count votes, count legitimate votes, to elect members of Congress who refuse to accept the outcome of the last election. So I think that is a red line. I don't think anybody should be supporting those people. Republicans shouldn't be supporting them. I also think it was wrong for Democrats to support Peter Meyer's opponent in Michigan, who was an election denier, for Democrats to play a game of elevating an election denier in the hopes that they could defeat that person in the general. I think we all have to recognize how dangerous it is to elect people who don't fundamentally believe in upholding our constitutional process.
Well, let me try it one more time. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she fears for our very democracy if Republicans win in November. Do you?
I think we have to make sure that we are fighting against every single election denier. The election deniers right now are Republicans, and I think that it shouldn't matter what party you are. Nobody should be voting for those people, supporting them, or backing them.
You are now the latest House Republican who had crossed party lines and voted to impeach President Trump to not be retaining your seat. Only two have won in their primaries. You know, people talk about the battle for the soul of the Republican Party. You have said there's a time for choosing whether we're loyal to the Constitution or loyal to Trump, and we must choose. Has that choice been made by Republicans fundamentally?
Look, I think the Republican Party today is in very bad shape, and I think that we have a tremendous amount of work to do. I think it could take several election cycles, but the country has got to have a Republican Party that's actually based on substance, based on principles, you know, based on a belief in limited government and low taxes and a strong national defense. A belief that the family has got to be the center of our community and of our lives. And those are the principles I believe in. That's what the party used to stand for. And we've got to get the party back to that. A party that has instead embraced Donald Trump, embraced his cult of personality, is looking the other way as he continues to do things like put out the names of FBI agents just in the last few days when he knows that our law enforcement is the target of violence. Put out the lies that he has put out in the last few days about what happened in its search warrant execution at Mar-a-Lago. Every Republican, every American should reject those. And I certainly know there are millions of Republicans and Americans across this country who will.
And finally, in the moments we have, word on the street was that you and your team were fond of an editorial recently that likened you to Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, who said to Darth Vader, essentially as they duked it out, "If you strike me down now, I will be stronger in death." Is that how you see it? You're stronger in political death this morning?
Well, I don't see it as death this morning. My kids certainly appreciate that analogy. They've been running the YouTube clip around the house. But I think we have a tremendous amount of work to do. And certainly, I am absolutely going to continue this battle. I think it's the most important thing I've ever been involved in. And I think it's certainly the most important challenge that our nation has faced in recent history, and maybe since the Civil War. And it's one that we must win.
Congresswoman Liz Cheney, thank you for your time early this morning in Wyoming. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Savannah. Great to be with you.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Hey, who's this?
You open the door for so many people. I love working with people. I did not do any of this by myself.
Hello! Lizzo, you put a smile on every single face.
It feels like Christmas or my birthday or something.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate it.
live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We are back devoting our morning to today's back-to-school school supply drive, and we're also shedding light on the inspiring stories of dedicated teachers who only want the best for their students.
That's right, and to help with the soaring cost of supplies, we've teamed up with adoptaclassroom.org. Carson, take it away.
Yeah, so if you're watching and are inspired and want to give, we're making it as easy as possible. All you have to do is scan our QR code. It's going to take you to our website and ways that you can help support adoptaclassroom.org. You can also go directly to today.com, guys.
All right, Carson, we're going to do that now. Let's meet some of these incredible teachers and kids, and they could really use the support. Jacob Sobroff is standing by in Austin, Texas. We'll get to Jacob in a minute, but first let's start with Carrie Sanders. Now, he's just outside Tampa, Florida at Eisenhower Middle School. Carrie, good morning.
It's a wave of excitement out here. So, of course, at a pep rally like this, you have to have a drum and a band. And today, what we're doing is we're celebrating those teachers who dig deep into their pockets. And among them, a teacher that we met here, Miss Sue.
Take a deep breath, breathe in. Let it out. Okay, we got this.
The 8th graders at Eisenhower Middle School are ready to take on American literature.
A marker, a pencil, and a pen, and you get to pick your choice.
Their teacher, Miss Paige Suhey, is determined to make it their best year yet. That means getting kids the school supplies they need for her reading and writing classes.
It makes me feel like I'm ready and prepared for school.
There's also some fun incentives.
Some teachers, they don't give us like the binders and stuff.
Or ice cream?
Yeah, or the popsicles to motivate us to like do better.
And does it work?
Yeah.
How much money are you spending out of your own pocket?
Oh gosh, in a given year it can be $1,500 to $2,300.
Ms. Suhey is not alone. According to adoptaclassroom.org, teachers across the country are spending as much as $750 of their own money on school supplies. Classroom costs have soared this year due to inflation. Pencils, for instance, are up 40%. And so Ms. Suhey has taken in a roommate to cut costs.
I'm in my 40s, so I already lived the dorm room kind of college life with roommates, so I never thought I had to revisit this.
Despite these financial hurdles, Ms. Suhey always finds the money to put her students first. She uses therapy animals in her classroom and runs a garden club, all on her own dime. In order to save, she scrounges. You have these pencils here.
Mm-hmm.
What if you're out? What do you do?
I go to the courtyard.
The courtyard?
Somehow the kids seem to accidentally drop their pencils. I will go out there and try to beat other teachers for pencils. It's like the running of the bulls out there.
Many teachers across the country face challenges this school year, some opting not to return. But Ms. Suhey says this is her passion.
We are here to support you. We are here to help you with your skills.
Helping kids learn, determined to make a difference.
Seeing the smiles on the kids' faces, seeing kids 5, 10, 15 years later, and they remember you as their teacher in their classroom. So that's why you do it.
Every kid remembers one teacher. I get the sense that you are that one teacher.
I hope so. They remember me in one way or another.
And I'm curious, Ms. Suhey, 21 years now of teaching. What is it that keeps you going?
Clearly, it's the kids here. They're our next generation. Us teachers, we're here for you. We love you, and we know you will reach your dreams.
Okay, well, wonderful. You know, your story and the story of many teachers is inspiring. And we shared your story with the folks from Pepsi. And so we're going to show you something. But first, we need to do a little bit of a surprise here. So let's get a drum roll. Okay, and then we see a parting of the waters here, and as we told Pepsi Stronger Together about
Well, there's so much noise in here, I hope you can hear me. We told Pepsi Stronger Together about Miss Sue's story, and they wanted to see if they could help out the staff, not only Miss Sue, but the entire school here. Look at the little hugging going on there. And what they've done is they've got a bunch of supplies here. So this is $10,000. Oh, look at you're crying. This is $10,000 supply for the whole school from Pepsi Stronger Together here. And things like rulers, crayons. Come over here because there's something else I wanted to show you a little bit further down here. We heard that you needed a laminating machine because the one here has been broken. Oh, look, you're laughing because you know it. And here's a couple laminating machines here. Just give me your sense of what this means to you and to the school.
Wow, this is all for the kids. This is awesome. This is all for them, so thank you. This right here just starts the year off how we need it, and a fresh start. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, we're going to go over here as you're looking at some of the stuff, and we'll see the kids coming through here, and they're getting some colored pencils, some scissors. They're loading up their bags, and pretty good morning.
Oh, you're good.
There we go, some excitement. So guys, you know, this is a really important moment, and it's something that I think people can stop and realize that, you know, despite everything, the economy is rough right now, and being able to help students, especially as they start the school year, is really significant because, as you've said before, this is the next generation. This is our future.
This is our next generation, and we have to value and love them.
Can we say thank you for everything you do and for all the teachers like you? Just remarkable. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Look at that. Guys, I think her smile and her little bit of tears there kind of tell the story.
Well, that's awesome. You know, we've all had a Miss Sue Hay in our lives.
Yes,
we
we have.
remember her,
Yes, we
and
have.
you know, I love she like all of her emotions coming out, and this is for her kids getting supplies.
Yes.
Like, that's what's filling her up.
There are
Incredible.
thousands of teachers like that all across the country.
And don't forget, guys, you can make a difference for teachers just like her and their students. All you have to do, again, is just scan that QR code and give a little bit for those supplies.
Yeah, a little bit goes a long way, as
Long
Carson
way.
showed us earlier.
Yep. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
These are our missing daughters and sons.
We need anyone who saw something to come forward.
She was wearing a black jacket, a black top.
I'm going to bring my son home alive.
Dateline Missing in America. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Yamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Today. We got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Yamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
You open the door for so many people.
I love working with people. I did not do any of this by myself.
Hello! Lizzo, you put a smile on every single face.
It feel like Christmas or my birthday or something.
We are back with our friend Kathy Lee Gifford, who left this very studio a little more than 3 years ago to pursue her passions, and boy, did she.
Has it been 3 years?
Well, not all of them.
Well, she has produced.
Still working on a couple.
She started movies. She's written books. She's created music. And most recently, she is looking forward to the role that she just received not too long ago. You became a grandma. What does Frankie call you? What do you want to be called?
Booby.
Booby.
Not booby. That's this.
Booby.
What is
What's wrong with people? No, why would I want to be booby? No, it's like bubbala. Bubbala.
So how was it holding that
Oh my
baby
gosh,
for-
everybody says you'll never believe. It's like I think we have some pictures. Yesterday was my birthday, so I got the present of a lifetime. You just yeah, but everybody fights me for him. I'm the grandmother. I'm the booby. I'm the booby.
Oh my God, look at that babe. Does he have a personality?
Oh my gosh, he's Cody all over again. He really is.
Oh my God,
he's
Kat.
just look at him.
Kat, he looks exactly like Cody.
He does. He looks a lot like
The
Cody.
name.
And they're amazing parents.
The name is just beautiful, Frankie.
Yes,
Of course.
Yeah, they call him Mr. Flanks.
Mr. Flanks.
Yes, Mr.
So how did your
Flanks.
birthday feel? How do your birthdays feel?
I hate birthdays. I've always hated. Even my sweet 16 was not that sweet. I don't like them.
Really?
I don't. Every day's a special day, and I don't like all that crazy attention. And it's like the older you get to, it's just like, you know what? I don't want to concentrate on a number because I don't feel it. I hope I don't look it. I spend a lot of money not to look it. But so if I look it, please let me know because I want my money back. But yeah.
And also, we were saying you are living this incredible chapter of your life.
It's a brand new season in my life.
How
I'm
does
so
it
grateful
feel?
for it. I knew I had to, you guys. I'd been a long time coming. I never wanted to leave the people here that I love, but I had to leave the environment of the Northeast and the mean-spiritedness that has come along and the lack of decency discussing any issue. People can't. It just became too mean-spirited for me. And you go to the South, where not everybody's a beautiful human being, but I don't hang out with the ones that aren't. And there's so many of them. They're godly people. They love America. They love uniqueness of people.
Yeah.
They don't want to cookie cutter everybody, make us all the same.
Right.
God went to so much trouble to make every one of us unique.
Yeah.
And then culture tries to say, but if you don't look this way and talk this way and worship this way and vote this way, get off the planet. You mean the planet God made for all of us? I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's funny because when people have a transition in their life, sometimes they look to you because I feel like people get scared of change, like when you have a moment like this. But I feel like since you left here, you've been flourishing and you're more than I remember here. Like you loved it here, but there's something different
Well, I
that's
have the
going on.
time to, I can make my own schedule. I have this new movie coming out called The Way, and it's been 4 years in the making. And so that comes out in a Fathom event on September 1st, and it's epic.
We have a trailer.
clip?
Can we just look really quickly at the trailer for this?
Yeah.
Wow.
The Bible comes to life with music and narration in ways you've never experienced before. The Way.
Wow.
Yeah. I couldn't shoot in Israel because of COVID, but we found some amazing, as you can see. That last scene, that's my guys Louis York. That is the cliff that Thelma and Louise went over in the movie. We were up there, and we dragged a piano up there, and I did. As a director, I'm able to do anything creatively you want to do as long as you can ka-ching for it. And it was a labor of love. And I got to give a shout out to Donna Dorable because she's the person that when I did The God Who Sees,
Is Donna over there?
She started crying because she said it was so moving. She said, Kathy, can you make this longer? Can you add more stories? I don't know these stories. And I went over to her and I remember, honey, and I hugged her and I said, you have no idea how God just used you in my life. I'm going to spend the rest of my life bringing these epic stories to life with orchestra, with some of the great, that's Jimmy Allen, that's B.B. Winans, that's Larry Gatlin, that's my cast is unbelievable.
And were they instant yeses when you asked Jimmy
Yes, and
Allen?
they did it for free. And I said, in the middle of it, I said, no, you're not. I gave them all a ton of money because I didn't have it, but God gave it to me. And I said, the Bible says a workman is worth their hire. And it was COVID, and everybody could use that money. And so it all worked out.
So this will be playing. It's a one
night only Fathom event. And then it'll be streaming after that. And it's a DVR.
What's the date? Do you know?
September 1st.
September 1st.
Okay, so people have to go and see it.
People are telling me.
That's where I want you guys to see it on the big screen, please. And take some friends who are lost, who are hurting. People are scared today. And find out how your part in this epic love story that God has that includes every one of us. People feel lonely today, lonelier than ever. They feel more invisible than ever. No, you are precious. You are precious and you have purpose. And sometimes just take a friend that needs to be reminded of that.
That's
you know?
a beautiful idea. Well, we're going to talk with you a little bit more, but since it's your birthday,
we have a little
I don't have birthday.
Well,
it's just a little
we heard it was your birthday.
Oh, well, that I'll take.
Yes.
Oh, Booby's formula.
And then look at your little.
Oh my! Oh, it's not Booby, honey.
Bubby.
Booby.
It's not Bubby. Is it Bubby?
Bubby.
Say wood.
Wood. Booby.
Wood. Booby.
Booby's little.
It's not,
Bubby.
well, let me put it over my boobies.
It's not Bubby.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate
And what do you love about fatherhood?
The chaos, the learning.
Is climate change one of your top priorities?
What's your message to girls who want to make a difference in their own communities?
Believe in yourself.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? Her name is Lester. Hey, who's this?
Kath. I love me some Kath.
Don't you love her?
Guys, don't forget, in 2 days, Panic at the Disco will be right here on our plaza.
Be epic. Have a great Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow, right here on Today.